A place the stars never forgot. Before you close your eyes tonight, perhaps you've been carrying more thoughts than you meant to. Maybe today felt a little too busy. Maybe your heart simply longs for one quiet place where nothing asks anything of you. If so, then this journey is for you. So, make yourself comfortable. Let your shoulders relax. Take one slow, gentle breath, and allow the world outside to grow a little quieter. Tonight, we are not rushing anywhere. We are simply going for a peaceful walk together. Far beyond the sleepy valleys. Beyond the forests where the morning mist lingers. And beyond the mountains that quietly greet the first light of dawn. There stood a place almost forgotten by time. Hidden among ancient stone cliffs. Rested a beautiful observatory. Its round dome, built from pale limestone and polished copper, reflected the last fading stars of the night. Wild ivy embraced its weathered walls. Tiny white flowers bloomed between the old stones. The narrow path leading to its entrance curved gently through quiet pine trees and silver grass that swayed with the cool mountain breeze. There were no crowds, no noise, only birds welcoming the morning, and the soft whisper of the wind across the hills. From a distance, the observatory looked less like a building, and more like a peaceful guardian that had spent countless nights watching over the sky. Its great telescope rested silently beneath the dome, patiently waiting, not to chase the stars, but simply to admire them. The wooden entrance door stood slightly open. Warm amber light glowed softly from within, as though someone had been expecting a quiet visitor. Perhaps someone just like you. The breeze carried the gentle scent of cedar wood, fresh mountain air, lavender, and dew-covered pine needles. Every breath felt lighter. Every step became slower. The traveler reached the old stone staircase, paused for a quiet moment, then gently placed a hand upon the smooth wooden door. Without a sound, it slowly opened. And beyond it, a peaceful new journey quietly began. The keeper of the quiet sky. The wooden door closed gently behind the traveler. Not with a heavy sound, but with the soft whisper of old cedar settling into place. Inside, the observatory felt wonderfully peaceful. The walls were built from smooth pale stone. Warm wooden beams stretched across the high circular ceiling. Golden lanterns glowed softly along the curved walls, filling every corner with a comforting amber light. The air carried the delicate fragrance of polished oak, old books, lavender, and fresh mountain breeze drifting through an open window high above. Around the room stood tall shelves filled with beautifully bound journals, leather-covered star maps, ancient celestial charts, brass instruments that had quietly measured the heavens for generations. Everything was perfectly arranged. Nothing felt forgotten. Nothing felt hurried. At the very center of the observatory stood the great telescope. Its polished brass body rested upon a beautifully carved wooden mount. The enormous glass lens pointed silently toward the fading stars above. Not as a machine, but almost like an old friend patiently waiting for another sunrise. The traveler stepped closer, running a hand gently across the smooth wooden railing surrounding the telescope. Every surface carried the quiet marks of time, not worn by neglect, but softened through years of gentle care. Nearby, someone quietly adjusted a small brass compass resting upon a wooden table. An elderly astronomer, His silver hair reflected the warm lantern light. A neatly trimmed white beard framed a peaceful smile. He wore a long navy blue wool coat over a simple linen shirt. A soft gray scarf rested loosely around his shoulders. Small round spectacles reflected tiny golden lights as he carefully closed one of the old journals. He looked toward the traveler. His eyes were calm, kind, as though he had watched countless visitors arrive beneath countless different skies. He gave a gentle nod, then spoke with a voice as quiet as the dawn itself. "Welcome." His smile grew a little warmer. "The stars have been waiting very patiently for you." The traveler looked upward through the open dome. Only a few bright stars still remained, slowly fading as morning approached. The astronomer folded his hands behind his back. He gazed toward the sky with quiet gratitude. Then softly added, "They never hurry to shine." His eyes reflected the final stars above. Yet somehow, they always arrive exactly when the night needs them most. The observatory fell silent once more. Not an empty silence, but the peaceful kind that invites the heart to simply listen. The map that glowed before dawn. The elderly astronomer walked slowly toward a spiral staircase tucked against the curved stone wall. Its polished oak steps had been gently worn smooth by countless quiet mornings. The traveler followed without a word. Above them, the great telescope rested beneath the open dome, still gazing toward the sky where the last few stars quietly lingered. The staircase led to a circular balcony that overlooked the entire observatory. Here, the morning light met the warm glow of lanterns. Night and day shared the room for just a little while longer. In the center of the balcony stood a large wooden table. Upon it rested an enormous star map. Its surface was crafted from dark walnut, protected beneath perfectly clear crystal glass. At first glance, it seemed like an ordinary map. Lines connected constellations. Tiny golden symbols marked distant stars. Beautiful compass roses decorated each corner. But as the traveler stepped closer, something extraordinary happened. The final stars outside shone through the glass dome above. Their gentle light touched the crystal surface of the map. One by one, small points of light began to glow. Soft golden stars slowly awakened across the map itself. Not brightly, not suddenly, but gently, like fireflies greeting the first moments before sunrise. The traveler watched in quiet wonder. The glowing lights slowly formed familiar constellations across the ancient chart. Every star appeared exactly where it belonged. Every pattern quietly completed another. The astronomer smiled. He placed neither hand upon the map. He simply admired it. "For many years," he whispered, "people believed this map was magical." He looked toward the fading sky. "But it has never created a single star." The glowing constellations shimmered peacefully beneath the crystal glass. "It only reflects what has always been there." A gentle breeze drifted through the open dome. The lantern flames danced softly. Outside, the eastern horizon grew brighter with the first colors of dawn. The astronomer rested one hand lightly upon the edge of the wooden table. Then he spoke with the calm certainty that seemed to fill every corner of the observatory. The clearest maps do not tell us where to create light. His gentle smile reflected the glowing constellations. They simply help us notice the light that has been quietly guiding us all along. The traveler remained still, watching the last stars above, and their quiet reflections below. For the first time, it became impossible to tell whether the sky was reflecting the map, or whether the map had simply learned to remember the sky. The whispering telescope, the glowing star map rested quietly beneath its crystal cover. As the first light of dawn spread across the horizon, the tiny golden constellations slowly faded, like fireflies returning to the morning. The elderly astronomer smiled. Then he gently motioned toward the great telescope standing beneath the open dome. "Come," he said softly. "There is one more way to meet the sky." The traveler followed. Each step echoed gently across the polished wooden floor. Not loudly, only enough to remind them that even quiet places have their own gentle voices. The telescope stood taller than any person. Its polished brass tube glowed warmly beneath the lantern light. Every gear, every wheel, every carved wooden support had been lovingly cared for through countless seasons. The astronomer rested one hand upon its smooth frame. He carefully adjusted a small brass wheel. The telescope moved almost silently, not with the stiffness of a machine, but with the graceful ease of something that had learned the rhythm of the heavens. Above, the dome slowly rotated. A wide circle of pale blue morning sky appeared overhead. Only one bright star still lingered. The last farewell of the night. The astronomer stepped aside. He invited the traveler to look through the great glass lens. Curiously, the traveler leaned forward. At first, only the soft blue sky appeared. Then, almost magically, the final morning star came into perfect focus. It shimmered with gentle silver light. Bright, peaceful, steady. Around it, the endless sky stretched into quiet infinity. No noise, no rush, only stillness. The traveler remained there for a long moment, simply watching. The astronomer spoke without raising his voice. Most people believe a telescope exists to make distant things larger. He smiled gently. But that has never been its greatest gift. He looked toward the brightening horizon. Its greatest gift is helping us slow down long enough to truly see what was already there. A cool mountain breeze drifted through the open dome. The scent of pine, cedar, and fresh morning air filled the observatory. The lantern flames flickered softly. Far away, the final star slowly disappeared into the growing daylight. The traveler stepped back from the telescope. The sky looked empty now. Yet somehow, it did not feel empty at all. Because once you have truly seen the quiet beauty of the heavens, a little of that quiet remains with you, even after the stars themselves have faded from view. The garden of falling starlight. The observatory grew quiet once again. The last morning star had gently disappeared into the brightening sky. Yet somehow, its peaceful light still seemed to linger inside the heart. The elderly astronomer smiled. "There is one place," he said softly, "that many visitors never discover." He picked up a small brass lantern. Its gentle amber glow was almost unnecessary now, as sunlight slowly filled the observatory. Still, he carried it anyway, not to light the way, but to honor the quiet journey. Together, they walked down a narrow stone corridor hidden behind the great telescope. The walls were covered with climbing ivy that had found its way through tiny openings in the ancient stone. Fresh mountain air drifted gently through the passage. The scent of cedar, wild lavender, and blooming thyme followed every step. At the end of the corridor stood a graceful iron gate. Its delicate patterns resembled tiny constellations scattered across the night sky. The astronomer opened it slowly. Beyond the gate lay a hidden garden. It rested on a quiet terrace carved into the mountainside. Wildflowers bloomed between smooth white stones. Small pine trees swayed gently in the breeze. Crystal dew sparkled upon every blade of grass. Above, the endless blue sky stretched peacefully across the horizon. In the center of the garden stood something remarkable. A shallow circular pool. Its water was perfectly still. Floating upon its surface were tiny white flowers shaped like little stars. They drifted silently across the water whenever the breeze passed by. The traveler knelt beside the pool. The flowers reflected both the bright morning sky and the peaceful observatory behind them. The astronomer set the brass lantern beside the water. Its golden reflection shimmered quietly among the floating blossoms. He smiled. Long ago, he whispered, people believed these flowers fell from the stars. He looked toward the clear morning sky. Perhaps they did. Or perhaps they simply remind us that even the heavens leave gentle gifts upon the earth. A single white blossom drifted toward the edge of the pool. The traveler carefully lifted it into an open hand. It felt light as a feather, cool with morning dew, fragile, yet beautifully complete. The astronomer watched with quiet gratitude. Then he spoke once more. The brightest stars are not always found above us. His eyes rested upon the tiny flower. Sometimes, they bloom quietly at our feet, waiting for a heart gentle enough to notice them. The breeze carried a few white petals across the terrace. The lantern glowed softly. The mountains stood peacefully beneath the morning sun, and somewhere between the sky above and the garden below, the traveler began to understand. That wonder was never far away. It had simply been waiting to be noticed. The chamber of silent time. The hidden garden slowly disappeared behind them. The white star-shaped flowers continued drifting peacefully across the still water, while the gentle mountain breeze carried their delicate fragrance into the morning air. The elderly astronomer picked up the little brass lantern once more. Its warm glow had become softer beneath the growing sunlight. Still, it felt comforting to carry. Together, they followed a narrow stone staircase that descended beneath the observatory. Each step was smooth with age. Tiny lanterns rested inside carved alcoves along the walls, filling the passage with a quiet amber light. The air became cooler, fresh. It carried the faint scent of cedar wood, aged parchment, polished brass, and ancient stone. At the bottom of the staircase stood a heavy circular door crafted from dark oak and bronze. Its surface was engraved with delicate constellations, crescent moons, and tiny stars. The astronomer rested a gentle hand upon the door. Without a sound, it slowly opened. Beyond it lay a peaceful circular chamber. Unlike the rooms above, there were no windows here. No telescope. No maps. Only silence. At the center of the room stood an extraordinary hourglass. It was taller than the traveler. Its crystal glass sparkled softly beneath the lantern light. Inside, fine silver sand flowed gently from the upper chamber into the lower one. Not quickly, not slowly, simply, steadily. Around the room, dozens of smaller clocks rested quietly upon wooden shelves. None of them ticked, none of them chimed. Their hands remained perfectly still. The traveler looked around in quiet wonder. The astronomer smiled. Many visitors ask me, which of these clocks tells the correct time? He gently shook his head. They all stopped many years ago. He looked toward the great hourglass. But this has never been measuring hours. The silver sand continued its peaceful journey. Grain after grain. Without hurry. Without pause. The room seemed to breathe with its quiet rhythm. The astronomer folded his hands behind his back. His voice became little more than a whisper. Life is rarely transformed by one great moment. His eyes rested upon the flowing sand. It is shaped by countless small moments, each one quietly falling into the next. The traveler watched the silver grains continue their gentle descent. No grain ever rushed ahead. None tried to remain above. Yet together, they slowly filled the chamber below. A warm stillness settled across the room. The lantern's gentle glow reflected within the crystal glass. And for a peaceful moment, time itself no longer felt like something to chase. It simply became another quiet companion, walking beside the heart, one gentle moment at a time. The library of quiet constellations. The chamber of silent time remained still behind them. The silver sand continued its gentle journey, quietly measuring moments that no clock could ever capture. The elderly astronomer carried the small brass lantern as they climbed another winding staircase. Each step brought them back toward the morning light. The cool scent of ancient stone slowly blended once again with fresh mountain air and cedar wood. At the top of the stairs, they arrived before a pair of beautifully carved walnut doors. Tiny brass stars had been inlaid across the wood. When the astronomer gently pushed the doors open, a warm golden glow welcomed them inside. The room was unlike any library the traveler had ever imagined. Towering bookshelves curved with the circular walls of the observatory. Thousands of beautifully bound books rested quietly upon polished cedar shelves. Their leather covers shimmered in shades of deep blue, forest green, warm brown, and soft burgundy. Above them, the great glass dome allowed gentle morning sunlight to pour into the room. Dust-like particles floated peacefully through the golden beams like tiny drifting stars. In the very center stood a magnificent celestial globe. Its polished brass rings slowly turned with almost invisible movement. Tiny golden stars were engraved across its crystal surface. Not as decoration, but as a gentle reminder of the heavens above. The traveler walked slowly between the endless rows of books. Every shelf carried small handwritten labels. Northern skies. winter constellations, the language of dawn, journeys beneath quiet stars. None of the books seemed old with neglect. Each one looked carefully loved, as though every page had been opened with gratitude. The astronomer stopped beside one particular shelf. He carefully removed a small leather-bound journal. Its cover held no title, only a single silver star embossed at its center. He placed the journal gently into the traveler's hands. It felt surprisingly light. When it was opened, every page appeared blank. The traveler looked up with quiet curiosity. The astronomer smiled kindly. Not every important story is written before we arrive. He glanced toward the sunlit dome above. Some of the most beautiful pages remain empty. His gentle smile grew warmer. Waiting patiently for moments of kindness, gratitude, and wonder to quietly write themselves. The traveler slowly closed the journal. Its blank pages no longer seemed empty. They felt full of possibility. Outside the glass dome, a small flock of swallows circled gracefully through the bright morning sky. Their shadows drifted softly across the library floor. The celestial globe turned ever so gently. The lantern's warm glow slowly faded beneath the sunlight. And somewhere among the quiet shelves, it felt as though every unwritten story had already begun, simply by opening the heart to another peaceful day. The balcony above the clouds. The quiet library slowly faded behind them. The unwritten journal rested gently beneath the traveler's arm, while the morning sunlight continued to pour through the great glass dome. The elderly astronomer smiled. "There is one place," he said softly, "where the observatory greets every new day." He carried the little brass lantern once more, though its flame was now almost hidden by the bright morning light. He never extinguished it. Together, they climbed a narrow spiral staircase that wound upward through the highest tower of the observatory. Each polished wooden step creaked ever so gently beneath their feet, not from age, but as though the tower itself quietly welcomed every peaceful visitor. The air became cooler, fresher. The scent of cedar and old books slowly gave way to crisp mountain air, wild lavender, and the clean fragrance of pine forests stretching far below. At last, they reached a small wooden door. Its round window reflected the endless blue sky. The astronomer opened it. A gentle breeze immediately greeted them. Beyond the doorway stretched a circular stone balcony suspended high above the mountains. There were no walls beyond the carved stone railing. Only sky. Soft white clouds drifted lazily beneath the mountaintop. From here, it almost seemed as though the observatory itself floated peacefully above the world. The traveler stepped forward slowly. The view stretched farther than the eye could follow. Rolling valleys, quiet rivers, ancient forests, distant lakes shimmering beneath the morning sun. Everything below seemed wonderfully calm. Tiny swallows glided effortlessly through the cool air. Golden sunlight warmed the pale stone beneath their feet. The astronomer rested both hands upon the weathered railing. His silver hair moved gently with the mountain breeze. For a long while, he simply admired the horizon. Then he quietly spoke. "The higher we climb," his eyes remained upon the endless landscape, "the smaller our worries often begin to appear." The traveler remained beside him, breathing slowly, deeply. The cool mountain air seemed to carry away every hurried thought. The astronomer smiled, not because our burdens disappear. He looked toward the bright horizon where the sky gently met the earth, but because peace teaches us to see them from a kinder distance. A single white cloud drifted silently across the valley below. Sunlight painted the mountaintops with warm shades of gold. The observatory stood quietly behind them. The endless sky stretched peacefully before them. And for one beautiful moment, it became impossible to tell whether they were standing above the clouds, or simply standing closer to hope itself. The compass that always found the dawn. The balcony above the clouds slowly disappeared behind them. The cool mountain breeze continued to whisper through the ancient pines as the traveler and the elderly astronomer quietly returned inside the observatory. The warm scent of cedar wood welcomed them once again. Golden morning light streamed through the tall arched windows, painting long ribbons of sunlight across the polished stone floor. The astronomer walked toward a small circular room tucked away beneath the eastern side of the observatory. Its oak door was simple, unadorned, almost hidden among the curved stone walls. When he gently opened it, the traveler found the smallest room they had visited so far. Yet somehow, it felt one of the most peaceful. In the very center stood a round wooden table. Upon it rested an old brass compass. Its surface had been polished so lovingly that it reflected the morning light like liquid gold. Unlike ordinary compasses, its needle did not point north. Instead, it rested quietly toward the eastern window, where the first light of every new morning entered the observatory. The traveler leaned closer. The needle never trembled, never wandered. It remained calm, steady, faithful. The astronomer smiled gently. Many travelers once believed this compass was enchanted. He carefully lifted it into his hands. But it has never searched for magic. He carried it to the window where the golden sunlight gently touched its glass face. It simply remembers where the light always returns. Outside, the sun had now risen fully above the distant mountains. Its warm rays filled the quiet room with a comforting glow. Dust floated peacefully through the light like tiny golden stars. The astronomer placed the compass back upon the table. Then he softly said, "Every heart carries a compass." His eyes rested upon the quiet needle. When life becomes uncertain, it is not meant to chase every passing shadow. He smiled with calm certainty, but to patiently turn again toward what brings truth, peace, and light. The traveler remained silent, watching the steady needle, listening to the gentle mountain breeze beyond the open window. For a long while, nothing moved except the drifting light across the wooden floor. And somehow, the smallest room in the observatory held one of its greatest lessons. Because even when clouds cover the sky, the dawn still knows exactly where to return. The lantern that waited for every traveler. The quiet room of the compass slowly faded behind them. The little brass needle continued pointing faithfully toward the eastern light, even after the door had gently closed. The traveler followed the elderly astronomer through one final stone corridor. It curved gracefully around the outer wall of the observatory. Tall arched windows welcomed the full beauty of the morning. Golden sunlight poured across the ancient floor, warming every polished stone. Outside, the mountains stretched peacefully beneath a sky of endless blue. Birds drifted effortlessly upon the morning breeze. Everything felt wonderfully awake, yet perfectly calm. At the end of the corridor stood an old wooden door that opened onto the observatory's eastern terrace. Unlike the balcony above the clouds, this terrace overlooked the valley where every sunrise first touched the earth. Near the stone railing stood a single lantern. It was taller than the others they had seen. Its frame was made of polished brass. Its crystal glass was spotless. Inside, a gentle golden flame burned steadily. Though daylight now filled the mountains, the lantern had never been extinguished. The traveler looked toward it with quiet curiosity. The astronomer smiled. For many years, visitors have asked why this lantern remains lit after sunrise. He rested one hand upon its warm brass frame. It no longer guides anyone through darkness. A gentle breeze stirred the wildflowers growing between the terrace stones. Their delicate fragrance drifted softly through the morning air. The astronomer looked toward the bright horizon. Then quietly continued, "Its light is not for those who have already arrived." His peaceful smile reflected within the crystal lantern. It quietly waits for those who are still finding their way. The traveler stood beside the lantern, watching its gentle flame dance almost invisibly beneath the bright morning sun. For the first time, it became clear that light does not lose its purpose simply because the world has grown brighter. Sometimes, its greatest purpose is to remain patiently ready for the moment someone else may need it. The astronomer gently lifted the lantern. Its warm glow remained calm, steady, unchanging. He placed it back upon the stone ledge where it had quietly stood through countless mornings. The mountains welcomed another gentle breeze. The observatory stood peacefully behind them. And somewhere beyond the endless valleys, another traveler had already begun walking toward the quiet light, without yet knowing that someone had faithfully kept it burning all along. The echo of the first sunrise. The lantern remained glowing softly upon the eastern terrace. Its quiet flame shimmered beneath the full light of morning, never competing with the sun, only quietly keeping its promise. The elderly astronomer looked toward a narrow stone path leading around the back of the observatory. "This way," he whispered. "There is one final place where every dawn leaves its first greeting." The traveler followed. The path climbed gently through weathered stone arches covered with wild ivy and tiny white blossoms. Mountain flowers swayed lazily in the cool breeze. The scent of pine, lavender, and fresh rosemary filled the crisp air. Soon, they reached a small natural cliff overlooking the entire valley. There were no buildings here. No telescope. No lantern. Only a smooth circle of ancient stone carved into the mountainside. At its center rested a single weathered bench made from old cedar. The astronomer sat quietly, The traveler joined him. Neither of them spoke. The valley below remained wrapped in peaceful silence. Far away, a silver river reflected the morning sun like a ribbon of light. Tiny villages rested peacefully among rolling green hills. Thin trails of smoke rose gently from stone cottages as another quiet day began. Birds circled effortlessly upon the mountain wind. The observatory stood behind them, watching silently, just as it had for countless generations. After a long and comfortable silence, the astronomer closed his eyes for a brief moment. Then he smiled. Listen. The traveler remained perfectly still. At first, there was only the breeze, the rustling pines, the distant song of birds. Then, very softly, the valley answered. A gentle echo drifted back from the mountains. Not loud, not sudden, only a peaceful whisper carried from one hill to another. The astronomer opened his eyes. Every sunrise leaves behind an echo. His gentle voice blended with the wind itself. Not in the mountains. He placed a hand lightly over his heart. But inside every soul willing to welcome a new beginning. The traveler breathed slowly. The cool mountain air felt wonderfully fresh. The echo faded. The birds continued singing. The river continued flowing. Nothing extraordinary had happened. Yet everything felt quietly renewed. Because sometimes, the greatest miracle of a new day is simply being given another gentle chance to begin again. The room where the morning was remembered. The quiet echo slowly faded into the distant mountains. The valley below continued its peaceful rhythm. The silver river shimmered beneath the growing sunlight. The traveler and the elderly astronomer remained seated for a little while longer, allowing the silence to finish its gentle conversation. At last, the astronomer stood. There is one final room inside the observatory, he said softly. It does not preserve stars. It preserves mornings. Together they returned through the ivy-covered pathway. The familiar stone walls welcomed them once again. Warm sunlight filtered through tall arched windows, filling the observatory with a soft golden glow. The scent of cedar wood, old parchment, and fresh mountain air followed every quiet step. At the end of a narrow corridor stood a modest oak door. Unlike the others, it carried no symbol, no carving, no brass decoration, only smooth wood polished by countless gentle hands. The astronomer opened it. Inside waited a peaceful circular room. Its walls were lined with beautifully crafted wooden frames. Each frame held a simple watercolor painting. None showed famous people. None showed grand cities. Instead, every painting captured an ordinary sunrise. A golden sky above a quiet lake. Morning light touching a lonely pine tree. A shepherd walking across dew-covered hills. Wildflowers opening beside a woodland stream. An old stone bridge welcoming the first rays of dawn. The traveler walked slowly around the room. Every painting felt alive, not because of perfect colors, but because each one quietly carried the feeling of a peaceful morning. Near the center stood a single wooden easel. Upon it rested a blank canvas. Beside the canvas lay untouched brushes and fresh colors. The traveler looked toward the astronomer with quiet curiosity. He smiled. No one paints on this canvas. He gently adjusted the empty frame. It waits. The traveler looked again. The canvas remained perfectly blank. The astronomer folded his hands behind his back. Every sunrise creates a new masterpiece. His eyes reflected the warm morning light filling the room. But not every masterpiece needs to be painted. He looked toward the open window where golden sunlight quietly entered. Some are simply meant to be lived. For a long, peaceful moment. Neither of them spoke. The blank canvas remained untouched. The paintings around the room glowed gently beneath the morning light. Outside, a robin landed upon the windowsill and welcomed the day with its cheerful song. The traveler smiled. Perhaps the most beautiful memory of the morning was never meant to hang upon a wall. Perhaps it was already being quietly painted inside the heart. The dome where silence touched the stars. The room of remembered mornings slowly faded behind them. The blank canvas remained untouched, quietly waiting for another sunrise to become someone's living masterpiece. The elderly astronomer smiled gently. "There is one place," he whispered, "that I have saved until the very end." Together, they climbed a narrow spiral staircase hidden behind the observatory's oldest stone wall. The polished oak steps curved upward in slow circles. With every step, the air became cooler. The scent of cedar and old parchment slowly gave way to fresh mountain wind and the crisp fragrance of pine. Above them, a small circular hatch stood slightly open. Golden morning light streamed through the narrow opening. The astronomer carefully lifted the wooden hatch. It opened without a sound. Beyond it lay the highest place in the entire observatory. The great upper dome. It was unlike every room below. There were no books, no paintings, no clocks, no instruments. Only a smooth circular platform of pale limestone surrounded by a low bronze railing. Above, the crystal dome curved gracefully into the endless blue sky. Its perfectly clear glass seemed almost invisible. It protected the observatory, without separating it from the heavens. The traveler stepped quietly onto the platform. The sky stretched in every direction. White clouds drifted lazily across the horizon. A family of swallows circled high above the dome before disappearing into the morning light. The mountains below rested peacefully beneath a blanket of soft green forests. The observatory seemed to float between earth and sky. The elderly astronomer walked to the center of the platform. He closed his eyes for a brief moment. Not in sleep, not in thought, only in gratitude. The traveler remained beside him. Neither spoke. The silence itself felt complete. A gentle breeze wandered through the open vents beneath the crystal dome. It carried the scent of wild lavender, fresh pine, and warm sunlight upon ancient stone. After a long peaceful moment, the astronomer opened his eyes. He looked toward the endless sky above, then quietly said, "The stars have never asked us to understand every mystery." His gentle smile reflected the bright morning light. They simply remind us that wonder becomes deeper whenever the heart remains humble enough to keep looking upward. The traveler lifted the gaze toward the crystal dome. The stars had already disappeared into the daylight. Yet somehow, their quiet presence could still be felt. Not because they could be seen, but because they had already taught the heart how to look beyond what the eyes alone could find. Above the observatory, the endless sky remained calm. The breeze continued its gentle song. And beneath the silent crystal dome, peace itself seemed to rest, quietly waiting for every traveler willing to pause, look upward, and remember that even after the stars fade from sight, their light continues its journey across the heavens. The path beyond the horizon, the crystal dome rested peacefully beneath the endless blue sky. The traveler remained standing beside the elderly astronomer, watching the clouds drift slowly across the heavens. For a little while, neither of them spoke. The silence itself felt like the final lesson the observatory wished to share. At last, the astronomer smiled. "There is one final path," he said softly. "It does not lead to another room. It leads back to the world." Together, they descended the gentle spiral staircase one last time. They passed the quiet library where unwritten pages still waited. The chamber of silent time, where silver sand continued its patient journey. The hidden garden, where star-shaped flowers floated peacefully upon still water. The great telescope beneath the open dome. And finally, the old cedar door where the journey had first begun. The astronomer rested a hand upon its polished handle. Warm sunlight slipped through the narrow opening as the door slowly swung outward. Beyond it, a winding mountain path stretched toward the distant horizon. Wildflowers nodded gently in the breeze. Tall pine trees whispered softly together. A narrow stream sparkled beside the trail, reflecting the brilliant morning sky. Everything felt wonderfully familiar, as though the world itself had quietly become part of the observatory. The traveler stepped outside. Fresh mountain air filled every breath. Behind, the hidden observatory stood proudly among the ancient cliffs. Its limestone walls glowed warmly beneath the morning sun. Its copper dome reflected the endless blue above. From this distance, it seemed less like a building, and more like a faithful friend quietly watching over every new dawn. The astronomer joined the traveler at the edge of the stone path. He carried the little brass lantern in one hand. Though daylight had fully arrived, its gentle flame still burned peacefully. He looked toward the distant horizon, then softly said, "Every peaceful journey eventually leads us back to ordinary life." He turned with a warm smile. The true purpose of the journey was never to escape the world. His eyes reflected the golden morning light, but to return with a quieter heart, clearer eyes, and a gentler spirit. The traveler looked once more toward the observatory. The great dome shimmered softly. The telescope remained quietly pointed toward the heavens. The lantern continued its faithful glow. Nothing asked the traveler to stay. Everything simply offered one final blessing for the road ahead. The traveler took another gentle step along the mountain path. Then another. The observatory remained behind. Not forgotten, but quietly carried within the heart, where every lesson learned beneath the stars would continue to shine, long after the mountain had disappeared beyond the horizon. Where every dawn begins again. The mountain path stretched peacefully toward the distant horizon. Wildflowers danced gently beside the winding trail. The cool morning breeze carried the fragrance of pine, lavender, and fresh earth. The traveler walked slowly. There was nowhere to hurry. No race to finish. Only the quiet joy of another peaceful step beneath the endless sky. Behind, the hidden observatory stood gracefully upon the ancient cliffs. Its pale limestone walls glowed beneath the golden morning sun. Its polished copper dome reflected the endless blue heavens until it seemed to become part of the sky itself. From this distance, it no longer looked like a place built by hands. It looked like a quiet promise that somewhere in the world, there would always be a peaceful place waiting for anyone willing to slow down and look upward. The traveler paused one final time. Far behind, the elderly astronomer still stood beside the old cedar doorway. The familiar brass lantern rested quietly in one hand. Its gentle flame continued glowing. Not because darkness remained, but because hope never waits for darkness before it begins to shine. The astronomer raised the lantern slightly. Not to call the traveler back. Only to offer one final blessing for the road ahead. Then the mountain breeze carried his last gentle words across the valley. The observatory cannot walk beside you. He smiled with quiet gratitude. But the wonder it awakened within your heart will always know where to find the light. The traveler placed a hand gently over the heart. Nothing had been taken from the observatory. No ancient map, no telescope, no lantern, no journal, and yet, it felt as though the greatest treasure of all had quietly become part of the journey. A calmer heart, a gentler spirit, a quieter way of seeing the world. Above, the morning sky stretched endlessly in every direction. White clouds drifted without hurry. Swallows circled gracefully through the sunlight. Far below, the silver river continued its peaceful song toward distant valleys. Everything moved exactly as it should. Without rushing. Without fear. Without trying to become anything other than what its creator had intended. The hidden observatory shimmered one last time beneath the golden light of dawn. Its copper dome reflected the heavens before slowly blending into the surrounding mountains. It did not disappear. It simply became part of the landscape. Just as every peaceful lesson quietly becomes part of the heart that welcomes it. And somewhere, carried gently upon the cool mountain breeze, one final whisper seemed to remain. Look upward with wonder. Walk forward with gratitude. And wherever life leads you, become a quiet light that helps others find hope beneath their own sky. The traveler continued toward the bright horizon. The songs of birds slowly blended with the whispering wind. The mountain path stretched onward. The new day smiled. And somewhere beyond the distant hills, another peaceful journey was already waiting, ready to welcome the next traveler. Until our next story, good night, sleep peacefully, and may tomorrow greet you with hope, gratitude, and gentle light. Herb Sparkle's Sunrise. The invitation hidden in the morning mist. Before you close your eyes tonight, I want you to imagine something. Imagine that you have been walking for a very long time. Not because you were lost, but because your heart was quietly searching for a place where everything felt calm again. The morning air is cool. A gentle breeze brushes softly across your face. With every slow breath, the world behind you becomes quieter. And quieter still. Ahead. Beyond the rolling hills. Beyond the flowering meadows. A narrow cobblestone path appears beneath your feet. It feels as though it has been waiting only for you. You follow it without hurry. On either side, tall cypress trees sway gently in the golden dawn. Wild roses bloom between ancient stone walls. Tiny birds greet the morning with soft songs that seem to echo through the peaceful valley. Then, through the silver mist, you see it. Not a castle, not a garden, but something that seems to be both. An enormous palace hidden behind ancient botanical walls. Its elegant towers are wrapped completely in emerald vines. Crystal fountains sparkle beneath the first rays of sunrise. Thousands of rare flowers bloom from marble balconies and graceful archways. Golden ivy climbs the white stone pillars as if nature and architecture have lived together here for centuries. A quiet stream circles the palace like a silver ribbon. Its gentle water reflects the clouds drifting across the morning sky. Everything feels wonderfully alive, yet perfectly still. At the entrance stands a magnificent iron gate decorated with delicate flowers forged into its design. It is neither open, nor completely closed, as though it has been patiently waiting for one peaceful visitor. For you. As you step closer, the gate begins to open by itself. Not with mystery, not with fear, but with the warm welcome of a place that has remembered your arrival long before you did. Beyond the gate, a world of hidden gardens, ancient blossoms, and quiet wonders waits to be discovered. Tonight, your peaceful journey into the secret botanical palace begins. The keeper of the hidden garden. The great iron gate closed softly behind you. Not with a sound that echoed, but with the quiet certainty of a place where every visitor is welcomed gently. The palace garden stretched before you like a living masterpiece. Marble pathways curved gracefully through endless beds of rare flowers. White lilies floated upon long reflecting pools. Ancient olive trees cast delicate shadows across the stone. Soft climbing roses embraced elegant archways carved centuries ago. The morning light filtered through tall cypress trees, painting golden patterns across the pathways beneath your feet. The air carried the gentle fragrance of jasmine, fresh lavender, blooming magnolias, and rain-soaked earth warmed by the first sunlight. Every breath felt lighter, every step slower, as though the palace itself wished to teach you how to move without hurry. Tiny songbirds fluttered between flowering branches. A pair of white butterflies danced above a bed of blue hydrangeas before disappearing into the morning light. Nearby, a crystal fountain whispered quietly, its flowing water adding a gentle melody to the peaceful silence. Following the sound of the fountain, you arrived at the heart of the first garden. There, among rows of rare botanical treasures, someone was carefully tending the flowers. An elderly gardener. His silver hair glowed softly beneath the morning sun. His neatly trimmed white beard framed a warm and peaceful smile. He wore a simple linen apron over an olive green shirt, with a wide straw gardening hat shading his gentle eyes. In one hand rested his familiar antique copper watering can. In the other, A single white camellia blossom. He watered each flower slowly, patiently, as though every bloom deserved its own quiet moment. He noticed your footsteps long before you reached him. Instead of surprise, his face brightened with quiet kindness. The kind smile that belongs to someone who has been expecting your arrival. He offered a gentle nod, then spoke with a voice softer than the flowing fountain beside him. Welcome to the secret botanical palace. He looked across the endless sea of flowers. Here, every garden remembers the hands that cared for it. For a moment, neither of you spoke. The breeze carried flower petals gently through the air. The fountain continued its peaceful song. And somewhere deep within the hidden palace, another quiet lesson was already beginning. The Hall of Eternal Blossoms. The elderly gardener began walking once more. Without haste, without a single unnecessary word. You followed quietly beside him. The marble pathway wound through graceful archways draped in flowering vines. Above, climbing wisteria hung like soft lavender waterfalls, their blossoms swaying gently in the warm morning breeze. The palace seemed even larger from within. Every courtyard revealed another hidden garden. Every doorway opened toward another peaceful wonder. Sunlight poured through tall crystal windows, scattering delicate patterns across the polished marble floor. Somewhere nearby, the cheerful song of a robin echoed through the palace. The gentle sound blended with the whisper of flowing fountains and the rustling leaves overhead. Together, they reached a pair of magnificent carved cedar doors. The gardener rested his hand upon one of the bronze handles. With a slow, effortless movement, the doors opened. Before you stretched the most breathtaking chamber you had ever seen. It was known as the Hall of Eternal Blossoms. The ceiling rose high above like the inside of a magnificent glass cathedral. Golden sunlight streamed through towering stained glass windows, filling the hall with warm shades of amber, emerald, sapphire, and soft rose. Marble columns lined both sides of the hall. Each pillar was wrapped with living vines covered in delicate white roses. Between them stood hundreds of flowering trees. Cherry blossoms, magnolias, camellias, orchids, rare lilies from distant lands. Somehow, every flower bloomed together, although they belonged to different seasons. The air carried the most delicate fragrance imaginable. Jasmine, gardenia, fresh citrus blossoms, white roses, lavender. Every breath felt wonderfully calm. Tiny butterflies drifted lazily beneath the sunlight. Small birds rested peacefully among flowering branches without disturbing a single blossom. At the very center of the hall stood an enormous ancient tree. Its silver trunk shimmered softly beneath the crystal light. Its branches spread across the entire ceiling like graceful arms embracing the palace itself. Thousands of blossoms covered every branch. Not one had fallen. The elderly gardener looked up with quiet admiration. Then he smiled. Many people believe beauty comes from perfection. His gentle voice echoed softly through the endless hall. He rested one hand upon the ancient tree. But true beauty comes from faithful care, given every single day. You stood beneath the flowering canopy. watching golden petals drift slowly through the warm light. And somehow, the palace no longer felt like a place built from marble and glass. It felt like a living heart, quietly blooming with every peaceful moment shared within its walls. The Whispering Orchid Gallery, the Hall of Eternal Blossoms slowly faded behind you. Golden petals continued to drift through the warm morning light, as though the palace itself was offering a quiet farewell. The elderly gardener smiled. Then he turned toward a narrow marble corridor almost hidden behind a curtain of climbing ivy. "This way," he whispered. "There is another garden that speaks without words." You followed him through the peaceful passage. The air became cooler. The sunlight softened as it filtered through long crystal skylights above. Tiny streams of water flowed beside the marble walkway, their gentle melody echoing softly through the corridor. Soon, the passage opened into a breathtaking gallery. Unlike the grand hall before it, this room felt wonderfully intimate. Its curved glass ceiling stretched overhead like a crystal sky. Elegant marble arches supported countless hanging orchids that floated gracefully from delicate bronze frames. White orchids, soft violet orchids, golden orchids, pale pink orchids, rare blue orchids that shimmered gently whenever the sunlight touched their petals. Their blossoms filled the gallery like living chandeliers. The fragrance was light, almost impossible to describe, a delicate blend of vanilla, fresh rain, morning dew, and blooming jasmine. The entire room invited silence. Not because silence was required, but because it felt beautiful. Tiny hummingbirds hovered peacefully between the blossoms, their wings catching beams of golden light before disappearing among the flowers. Not a single orchid moved except when the gentle breeze wandered through the open glass windows. The elderly gardener stopped beside one extraordinary orchid. Its elegant white petals glowed with a faint golden edge. Unlike the others, it had only one blossom. Yet somehow, it became impossible to look away. The gardener did not touch it. He simply admired it quietly. Then he spoke. "The rarest flowers are often the quietest." His gentle smile reflected years of patient care. They never compete to be noticed, yet those who slow down always remember them. You stood beside the single white orchid, listening, not to voices, but to the peaceful stillness that surrounded it. For a long moment, the palace seemed to hold its breath. Only the distant fountain, the whisper of leaves, and the soft flutter of orchid petals remained. And somewhere beyond the crystal gallery, another hidden garden was already waiting to welcome you. The Moon Lily Courtyard, leaving the Whispering Orchid Gallery behind. You continued walking beside the elderly gardener. The marble corridor curved gently through the palace, its walls covered with climbing ivy and tiny white blossoms that seemed to glow in the warm morning light. The palace grew quieter with every step. Only the soft sound of flowing water remained. Ahead, an elegant stone archway appeared, carved with delicate patterns of vines, lilies, and soaring birds. Above the arch were three simple words. "The Moon Lily Courtyard." The gardener smiled warmly. "Every palace," he said softly, "keeps one place where silence is allowed to bloom." As you stepped through the archway, the world seemed to pause. At the center of the courtyard rested a perfectly still circular pond. Its crystal clear water reflected the endless blue sky above as though it were polished glass. Floating upon its surface were dozens of magnificent white moon lilies. Their broad emerald leaves drifted gently with the slightest movement of the water. Each blossom seemed to glow with a soft pearl-like radiance. Around the pond stood graceful willow trees whose long branches swayed peacefully in the breeze. Their reflections danced slowly across the water. Stone benches circled the courtyard beneath flowering pergolas covered in white jasmine and climbing roses. The fragrance was wonderfully gentle. Fresh lilies, soft jasmine, morning rain, and cool spring water blended into one peaceful breath. Tiny dragonflies skimmed silently across the pond. A pair of white swans glided gracefully between the lilies without creating more than the gentlest ripple. Even the breeze seemed careful not to disturb the quiet beauty of the garden. The gardener knelt beside the water. He reached into his apron pocket and removed a single unopened lily bud. With great care, he placed it gently upon the surface of the pond. It floated peacefully among the others. No rush, no force, simply finding its place. The gardener looked toward you with his familiar, peaceful smile. Not every flower is meant to bloom at sunrise. The breeze carried a few willow leaves softly across the water. He continued. Some blossoms quietly wait for the perfect moment, and that waiting is part of their beauty. You watched the unopened lily drift peacefully beneath the golden morning sky. It did not seem unfinished. It seemed hopeful. And somewhere within the silent courtyard, you realized that patience itself could blossom into something beautiful. The conservatory of singing birds. The quiet beauty of the moon lily courtyard slowly faded behind you. The lilies continued drifting across the mirror-like pond. The willow branches swayed gently in the breeze. And the pair of white swans glided peacefully beneath the golden morning sky. The elderly gardener smiled. There is another garden, he said softly, where the flowers are beautiful, but the music belongs to the birds. Together, you followed a winding marble path bordered by fragrant rosemary, blooming lavender, and delicate white daisies. With every step, the morning seemed to grow brighter. Soon, you heard it. Not one bird, not two, but a gentle chorus carried by the breeze. Soft, joyful, perfectly peaceful. The sound guided you toward an elegant glass conservatory nestled against the eastern wing of the palace. Its soaring crystal roof shimmered beneath the morning sun. Golden vines wrapped around graceful bronze columns. White roses climbed every archway as though nature itself had decorated the palace. The gardener slowly opened the cedar doors. Inside, the air felt wonderfully alive. Hundreds of colorful songbirds rested among flowering trees. Bluebirds perched upon blossoming cherry branches. Golden finches fluttered through blooming magnolias. White doves nested peacefully among emerald vines. Tiny robins hopped gently across the stone pathways, searching quietly beneath the flowers. Every bird sang. Yet somehow, none of their songs disturbed the silence. Instead, they blended together like the soft notes of a peaceful symphony. Sunlight poured through the crystal ceiling, illuminating countless feathers that shimmered in shades of sapphire, emerald, amber, ivory, and soft silver. At the very center of the conservatory stood an ancient flowering fig tree. Its broad branches stretched gracefully toward the glass roof. Dozens of tiny nests rested safely among its leaves. Newly hatched birds slept peacefully while their parents sang nearby. The elderly gardener stopped beneath the tree. He remained perfectly still. Within moments, a tiny robin fluttered gently onto his shoulder. Then a small white dove landed beside him. Neither bird seemed afraid. The gardener smiled. He whispered so softly that only the nearest leaves seemed to hear. A peaceful heart never needs to call beauty toward itself. The birds continued singing around him. Warm sunlight danced across the crystal floor. He looked at you with quiet kindness. When kindness becomes your nature, even the smallest creatures learn that they have found a safe place to rest. For a long while, you simply listened, not to the words, but to the harmony surrounding them. And somewhere within the gentle songs of the birds, the secret botanical palace quietly reminded you that the sweetest melodies are often born where peace is allowed to live. The Rose Observatory. The songs of the birds lingered gently in the air, even as you and the elderly gardener stepped beyond the conservatory of singing birds. The palace grew quieter once again. Not empty, only peaceful. The marble pathway curved upward, climbing gently through a garden of fragrant climbing roses. White roses, blush pink roses, golden tea roses, deep crimson roses. Their blossoms covered elegant stone arches until the palace itself seemed woven from flowers. The morning breeze carried their delicate fragrance through the warm sunlight. Ahead, a graceful spiral staircase rose toward the highest tower of the palace. Its white marble steps curved around a living column wrapped entirely in emerald ivy. Tiny butterflies floated lazily between the blossoms as you slowly climbed. With every step, the gardens below became more beautiful. Crystal fountains sparkled like scattered diamonds. Flowering courtyards unfolded like colorful paintings. Ancient trees stretched their branches toward the morning sky. At last, you reached the top. Waiting there was a circular observatory unlike any other. Its elegant dome was made entirely of crystal glass. The walls were open between graceful marble columns, allowing the fresh morning breeze to wander freely through the room. At the center stood a simple bronze telescope, not polished to perfection, but lovingly cared for through many peaceful years. Around it bloomed an endless circle of climbing roses. Their branches reached gently toward the transparent dome, framing the endless blue sky above. The gardener rested one hand upon the old telescope. Then, instead of looking through it, he simply gazed toward the horizon. Rolling green hills stretched into the distance. Silver rivers reflected the morning sun. Tiny villages rested quietly among forests and flowering meadows. Everything looked wonderfully small, yet beautifully connected. The gardener smiled. When we stand too close to life, he looked across the endless landscape. We often notice only the thorns. A gentle breeze carried a handful of rose petals into the open sky. They drifted peacefully before disappearing beyond the palace walls. The gardener continued. But when we quietly rise above our worries, his eyes reflected the golden morning light. We begin to see the whole garden that was surrounding us all along. For a long moment, neither of you spoke. The observatory needed no conversation. Only open skies, soft wind, and grateful hearts. As the sunlight filled the crystal dome, you realized that sometimes, the greatest change does not come from changing the world. It comes from gently changing the way you choose to look at it. The Garden of Quiet Reflections. The Rose Observatory rested peacefully above the palace. The morning breeze continued to wander through the crystal dome, carrying the gentle fragrance of blooming roses across the open sky. After a long, comfortable silence, the elderly gardener smiled. "There is one final garden," he said softly, "where flowers are not the only things that bloom." Together, you descended the graceful spiral staircase. The palace seemed even quieter now. The birds sang more softly. The fountains flowed more gently. Every step felt lighter than the one before. The marble pathway led through a hidden archway covered in delicate white jasmine. Beyond it, a secluded garden revealed itself. Unlike the grand courtyards before, this place was wonderfully simple. A narrow stream flowed silently between smooth white stones. Tiny wooden bridges crossed the water. Ancient maple trees stretched their graceful branches overhead, their emerald leaves dancing gently in the breeze. Soft moss covered the ground like a living carpet. Scattered among the trees were simple wooden benches. No statues, no grand fountains, only nature and quiet. At the center of the garden rested a perfectly still reflecting pool. Its water was so clear that it reflected the clouds above like polished crystal. The elderly gardener walked to its edge. He sat upon a weathered wooden bench and simply looked across the water. You joined him. Neither of you spoke. The silence felt peaceful, not because there was nothing to say, but because everything important was already present. A single white feather drifted slowly onto the surface of the pool. Gentle ripples spread outward in perfect circles. Within moments, the water became still again. The reflection returned. The sky, the trees, the flowers, even your own quiet face. The gardener smiled. He watched the last ripple disappear. Then he spoke in his familiar, gentle voice. "The world around us becomes clearer." He rested his hands peacefully upon his lap. "When we allow the waters within us to become still." A soft breeze stirred the maple leaves overhead. Several floated gently into the stream, beginning a slow journey carried by the peaceful current. The gardener looked toward the quiet garden. His eyes reflected the calm water before him. Peace is not something we discover at the end of the journey. He smiled warmly. It is something we quietly grow with every gentle step we choose to take. For a long while, you simply remained there, listening to the flowing stream, watching the reflections dance beneath the morning sky. And somewhere deep within the secret botanical palace, you realize that the most beautiful gardens are not only filled with flowers, they are also filled with moments of stillness that quietly remain in the heart forever. The hidden seed vault. The garden of quiet reflections slowly faded behind you. The still pool continued to mirror the endless blue sky. The maple leaves drifted gently downstream. And somewhere in the distance, the birds welcomed the late morning with soft, cheerful songs. The elderly gardener rose quietly from the wooden bench. His familiar copper watering can caught a warm beam of sunlight. He looked toward you with the same peaceful smile. "There is one last secret," he said softly. "Not every treasure in this palace is meant to bloom today." Together, you followed a narrow stone path that curved beneath towering cedar trees. The air became cooler. The fragrance of fresh flowers slowly gave way to the comforting scent of aged wood, rich soil, and ancient cedar. Ahead stood a small round building, almost hidden beneath emerald ivy. Unlike the grand halls of the palace, its walls were simple stone. Its roof was covered with soft green moss. An old wooden door rested quietly beneath an arch of climbing jasmine. The gardener opened it gently. Inside, rows of beautifully crafted wooden shelves stretched from floor to ceiling. Thousands of tiny glass jars rested neatly upon them. Each jar held seeds, some no larger than grains of sand, others smooth and round like polished pearls. Every jar carried a small handwritten label tied with natural twine. Rose, lavender, camellia, olive, cherry blossom, magnolia, and hundreds more from gardens across distant lands. Warm sunlight entered through a small circular window high above, filling the room with soft golden light. Tiny particles of dust floated peacefully through the air like little stars. The gardener carefully lifted one small glass jar. Inside rested a single seed, no larger than your fingernail. He placed it gently into the palm of your hand. It felt light, almost weightless, yet somehow wonderfully precious. The gardener smiled. Every magnificent garden. He looked across the endless shelves filled with quiet possibilities. Once rested inside something this small. He closed the little jar with great care. His voice became softer still. "Never underestimate small beginnings." A gentle breeze wandered through the open window. The scent of cedar and fresh earth filled the peaceful room. You looked once more at the tiny seed resting in your hand. It seemed so ordinary, yet within it, an entire future garden quietly waited. And in that hidden chamber beneath the secret botanical palace, you understood that hope rarely arrives with great noise. More often, it arrives as something small, patient, and ready to bloom when the season is right. The gate that opened to every garden, the hidden seed vault rested quietly behind you. Its shelves remained filled with thousands of tiny promises, each waiting patiently for its own perfect season. The elderly gardener gently closed the old wooden door. Not with an ending, but with the quiet care reserved for something deeply treasured. The palace gardens welcomed you once again. Warm sunlight poured through the flowering archways. The fountains sparkled softly. Butterflies drifted lazily among the roses. Everything seemed familiar now, as though the palace had quietly become a place your heart already knew. The gardener smiled. "There is one final place," he said. "Not hidden, not secret, but often overlooked. Together, You followed the widest marble pathway in the entire palace. It passed beneath towering olive trees and elegant pergolas woven with jasmine and climbing roses. The fragrance of fresh blossoms filled the warm morning air. Ahead, the magnificent entrance gate appeared once more. The same iron gate that had welcomed you at sunrise. Now, bathed in the golden light of late morning, it looked even more beautiful. Beyond it stretched rolling green meadows, peaceful forests, silver rivers, and winding paths disappearing toward distant hills. The gardener stopped before the gate. He rested one hand upon its cool iron frame. Then he looked toward you with eyes filled with quiet kindness. You may think, he said softly, that your journey ends here. A gentle breeze carried white flower petals across the pathway. He smiled. But every peaceful place has only one purpose: to help you carry its peace into the world beyond its walls. He slowly opened the gate. Sunlight flooded through the entrance like liquid gold. The birds sang a little louder. The breeze became warmer. The fragrance of jasmine blended with the fresh scent of wildflowers growing beyond the palace. The traveler stepped forward, then paused for one final glance. Behind the gate, the secret botanical palace shimmered beneath the brilliant morning sky. Its crystal windows reflected the sunlight. Its flowering towers blended gently into the surrounding gardens. It no longer felt hidden. It felt timeless. The elderly gardener lifted his familiar copper watering can in a quiet gesture of farewell. The single white camellia still rested peacefully in his other hand. Then he spoke one final lesson. The greatest gardens are never built to be admired from afar. He looked across the endless meadows stretching toward the horizon. They are built to teach every visitor how to grow peace wherever life may lead them. The traveler smiled, not because the journey was ending, but because something beautiful had quietly begun. With one gentle step, you crossed the palace gate, carrying no flowers, no treasures, only a quieter heart, and somehow, that became the most precious gift of all. The gardener's little notebook. The palace gate rested quietly behind you. The morning breeze carried the fragrance of roses and jasmine across the open meadow. For a while, you simply walked, not because there was somewhere to reach, but because peaceful places have a way of teaching the feet to move slowly. The elderly gardener walked beside you. His familiar straw hat shaded his gentle eyes. The antique copper watering can swung softly at his side. In his other hand, the single white camellia still bloomed with quiet grace. After a short distance, he stopped beneath an ancient oak tree. Its wide branches stretched over a weathered wooden bench. Sunlight filtered gently through the emerald leaves, painting moving patterns across the grass. The gardener sat down. From the pocket of his linen apron, he carefully removed a small notebook. Its leather cover had faded with time. The corners were gently worn. A simple piece of twine kept it closed. He untied the string with great care. Inside, the pages were filled with delicate handwritten notes. Not maps, not lists of rare flowers, not instructions. Instead, every page held small observations collected over many peaceful years. The first jasmine bloomed 3 days earlier this spring. A robin built her nest beneath the eastern arch again. The old olive tree offered its deepest shade during the hottest afternoon. The lilies opened quietly after last night's gentle rain. Beside many of the notes were tiny watercolor sketches. A butterfly, a single fern leaf, a blooming camellia, a feather resting beside a stream. The traveler smiled. None of the pages described extraordinary events. Yet somehow, every page felt precious. The gardener noticed the smile. He closed the notebook gently and rested it upon his lap. Then he spoke. A peaceful life is rarely made of extraordinary moments. A breeze turned one page almost by itself. He watched it quietly before continuing. It is made of ordinary moments, noticed with extraordinary gratitude. The oak leaves whispered softly overhead. A robin landed on a nearby branch, singing its cheerful morning song. The gardener looked toward the endless gardens stretching beyond the palace walls. His smile remained as calm as ever. The heart remembers what it chooses to notice. He carefully tied the notebook closed once more. Not because the story had ended, but because tomorrow would surely offer another page worth writing. And as you rose from the wooden bench together, you realized that perhaps the greatest treasures are not the rare flowers we gather, but the quiet moments we choose never to forget. The courtyard of morning bells. The little notebook was safely tucked back into the gardener's apron. Its pages rested quietly, holding the memories of countless peaceful mornings. Together, you continued walking along the gently winding path. The palace stood behind you, glowing beneath the warm light of late morning. The fragrance of blooming roses slowly faded. In its place came the fresh scent of citrus blossoms, rosemary, and sun-warmed cedar. Ahead, a graceful stone arch welcomed you into another hidden corner of the palace. Unlike the grand halls and flowering gardens before it, this place felt wonderfully simple. An open courtyard, paved with smooth white limestone, surrounded by rows of fragrant orange and lemon trees. Their branches bowed gently beneath clusters of golden fruit. At the center stood an ancient olive tree. Its wide branches stretched peacefully toward the brilliant blue sky. From those branches hung dozens of tiny bronze bells. Each bell was different. Some were no larger than an acorn. Others were shaped like delicate flowers or leaves. None were polished. Time had given them a soft, weathered beauty. A gentle breeze wandered through the courtyard. One by one, the little bells began to ring. Not loudly, not all at once. Each answered the wind in its own quiet voice. Soft, gentle, almost like distant birds singing across a peaceful valley. The sound filled the courtyard without disturbing its silence. Instead, it seemed to become part of it. The elderly gardener smiled. He did not touch a single bell. He simply stood beneath the olive tree and listened. You closed your eyes for a moment. The bells, the breeze, the rustling leaves, the distant fountain. Together, they formed a melody that no musician could ever write. After a long, peaceful silence, the gardener spoke. Some of life's most beautiful songs. He looked up toward the gently swaying branches. Are played only when we stop trying to control the wind. Another soft breeze drifted through the courtyard. The tiny bells answered once again, each with its own quiet voice, each perfectly enough. The gardener smiled warmly. Peace does not ask the world to become silent. His eyes reflected the dancing sunlight beneath the olive tree. It simply teaches the heart to hear the quiet music that has been there all along. For a little while, neither of you moved. You simply stood beneath the ancient tree, listening to the morning bells, as their gentle melody floated through the secret botanical palace, like a quiet reminder that even the softest moments can echo in the heart for a lifetime. The glass atrium of endless sky, the gentle melody of the morning bells slowly faded into the breeze. The ancient olive tree remained standing peacefully behind you, its bronze bells swaying softly beneath the warm light of late morning. The elderly gardener smiled. "There is one last place within the palace," he said quietly. "A place where the garden remembers the sky." Together, you followed a narrow marble staircase hidden behind flowering ivy. The steps curved upward through walls wrapped in jasmine and climbing roses. With every step, the fragrance of flowers became lighter. The air became fresher. The sunlight brighter. Soon, the staircase opened into the highest chamber of the secret botanical palace. It was called the glass atrium of endless sky. Unlike every room before it, this chamber held almost nothing. No flower beds, no fountains, no statues, only space, light, and silence. Above you stretched an enormous crystal dome, so perfectly clear that it seemed to disappear into the heavens. Soft white clouds drifted slowly overhead. Swallows glided gracefully across the endless blue sky. Golden sunlight poured through the transparent ceiling, filling the atrium with a warm, peaceful glow. At the center of the room rested a single wooden bench, crafted from old cedar. Beside it stood a young olive tree growing inside a simple clay pot. Its silver-green leaves shimmered gently whenever the breeze entered through the open arches. The elderly gardener sat quietly upon the bench. You joined him. Neither of you spoke. There was nothing missing, nothing that needed to be added. For several peaceful moments, the only sounds were the whisper of the wind, the distant singing of birds, and the quiet breathing of the palace itself. The gardener looked upward through the crystal dome. Then he smiled. "A roof of glass protects the garden." His calm voice drifted gently through the open chamber. "Yet it never hides the sky." A warm breeze entered the atrium, gently stirring the leaves of the young olive tree. The gardener watched them dance in the sunlight. Then he continued, "A peaceful heart does the same." His eyes reflected the endless blue above. "It guards what is precious, while always remaining open to light, hope, and gratitude." A flock of white doves passed silently overhead. Their wings caught the sunlight before disappearing beyond the crystal dome. You remained seated beneath the endless sky, breathing slowly, watching the clouds drift by. And somehow, it became impossible to tell where the palace ended, and where heaven quietly began. For in the stillness of the glass atrium of endless sky, you discovered that the greatest peace is not found beneath walls of stone, but beneath a heart that remains open, clear, and always ready to welcome the light. The garden beyond the palace. The glass atrium of endless sky slowly faded behind you. Its crystal dome continued to welcome the endless blue above, while the young olive tree shimmered gently in the warm light of late morning. The elderly gardener rose from the cedar bench. His familiar straw hat cast a soft shadow across his peaceful face. The antique copper watering can rested quietly in one hand. The single white camellia remained fresh in the other. He smiled. "There is one final path," he said softly. "Not through the palace, but beyond it." Together, you descended the winding marble staircase. You passed once more through the Hall of Eternal Blossoms, the Whispering Orchid Gallery, the Moon Lily Courtyard, the Conservatory of Singing Birds, and every peaceful garden that had quietly shared its wisdom. Each place seemed to offer a silent farewell. The fountains continued their gentle song. The butterflies drifted lazily through the flowers. The bronze bells beneath the ancient olive tree answered the breeze one last time. At last, you arrived before the magnificent iron gate where your journey had first begun. It stood wide open now. Beyond it stretched an endless meadow bathed in golden sunlight. Wildflowers danced gently across rolling hills. Silver streams wound quietly through emerald fields. Ancient oak trees stood like faithful guardians beneath the endless sky. The fragrance of lavender, chamomile, fresh grass, and blooming roses filled the warm afternoon air. The elderly gardener stopped beside the gate. He looked across the peaceful landscape with quiet gratitude. Then he turned toward you. His gentle smile carried the warmth of every garden you had visited together. "You may leave this palace today." He paused as a butterfly settled softly upon the white camellia in his hand. "But its gardens do not remain behind." A warm breeze carried flower petals into the open meadow. The gardener watched them drift toward the distant hills. Then he spoke once more. "The most beautiful gardens are never meant to keep peace inside their walls." His eyes reflected the endless fields before you. They quietly send it into the world, one grateful heart at a time. You stepped beyond the great iron gate. The palace stood behind you like a timeless sanctuary, its marble towers wrapped in emerald vines, its crystal windows shining beneath the afternoon sun. It no longer felt hidden. It felt like a place that had always existed, waiting patiently for anyone willing to slow down enough to find it. You looked back one final time. The elderly gardener gently lifted his watering can in a silent blessing. Not a goodbye, only a quiet reminder that every peaceful journey continues, long after the garden disappears from sight. And as you walked into the open meadow, you realized something beautiful. Sometimes, the greatest gift a peaceful place can offer is teaching your own heart how to become one. Where every garden lives on. The meadow stretched peacefully before you. Golden afternoon light rested gently upon the rolling hills, where countless wildflowers swayed together beneath the soft breeze. You walked without hurry. Each step felt lighter than the last. Behind you, the secret botanical palace stood quietly among ancient trees and flowering gardens. Its marble towers shimmered beneath the warm sunlight. Its crystal windows reflected the endless blue sky until the palace itself seemed to become part of the landscape. Not a monument, but a living memory. You paused for one final glance. The great iron gate remained open. The elderly gardener still stood beneath the flowering archway. His familiar straw hat shaded his gentle smile. The antique copper watering can rested peacefully beside him. In his hand, the single white camellia continued to bloom, just as it had from the beginning of your journey. He lifted the flower slightly, not to say goodbye, but to offer one final blessing. The breeze carried his quiet voice across the meadow. A palace of flowers cannot walk beside you. He smiled with the same calm kindness that had welcomed you through every garden. But the peace it has planted within your heart will bloom wherever you choose to nurture it. You placed a hand gently over your heart. There were no rare flowers to carry, no golden keys, no priceless treasures gathered from the palace. And yet, it felt as though you were leaving with something far more valuable. A quieter mind, a grateful spirit, a heart that had learned to slow down and notice the beauty hidden within ordinary moments. The afternoon breeze wandered through the meadow. Butterflies drifted freely among the wildflowers. A robin perched upon the branch of a nearby oak tree, filling the air with its cheerful song. Far behind, the fountains of the palace continued their gentle whisper. The bronze morning bells answered the wind. The orchids still bloomed in quiet elegance. The moon lily courtyard reflected the endless sky. And somewhere deep within the palace gardens, a tiny unopened flower welcomed another gentle ray of sunlight, patiently waiting for the season when it would quietly bloom. Everything continued exactly as it should. Without rushing, without fear, without needing to become anything other than what it had been lovingly created to be. The secret botanical palace slowly disappeared beyond the distant hills. Not because it was gone, but because it had already found a new home within your heart. And as your peaceful journey continued toward another sunrise, one final whisper seemed to drift gently upon the breeze. Notice the small wonders. Care for them with patience. And wherever your path may lead, let your heart become a quiet garden where hope, kindness, and peace may bloom for everyone who enters. The birds sang softly. The flowers danced with the wind. The sun smiled warmly across the hills. And somewhere beyond the horizon, another gentle story was already waiting, ready to welcome you home. Until our next peaceful journey. Good night, sleep peacefully, and may your heart always bloom with gratitude. Herb cherry blossom sparkles. And allow your thoughts to drift away like leaves carried by a peaceful evening breeze. Tonight's journey brings us to a hidden woodland, where, high among ancient trees, stands a cozy little treehouse filled with warm lantern light, gentle creaking wood, and the comforting scent of cedar and pine. There is nowhere you need to hurry, nothing you need to solve. Only a peaceful path waiting to be explored. One quiet step at a time. As the golden evening sun begins to fade behind the forest canopy, tiny fireflies awaken beneath the leaves, dancing like little stars among the branches. Far above, nestled between two magnificent oak trees, A warm glow shines through the windows of a charming wooden treehouse. Its lanterns flicker gently. Its balcony sways ever so slightly with the whispering breeze. And somewhere inside, a kettle quietly sings over a small fireplace. The narrow wooden bridge leading to the treehouse waits patiently, decorated with tiny hanging lanterns that cast soft pools of golden light upon each weathered plank. The forest itself seems to breathe peacefully. Birds offer their final songs before nightfall. Leaves rustle with gentle rhythm. And the cool evening air carries the comforting fragrance of pine, fresh moss, and warm cedar wood. Every step toward the little treehouse feels lighter than the last, as though the forest has been quietly waiting. Not for just anyone, but for you. And as you place your hand upon the smooth wooden door, it slowly opens on its own, welcoming you into a night filled with warmth, wonder, and peaceful dreams. Sparkles. Crossing the lantern bridge, the wooden door remained open, not with a sound, but with a quiet invitation. Inside, the treehouse glowed with the warm light of hanging lanterns, each one gently swaying as the evening breeze drifted through the open windows. The air felt wonderfully cozy. It carried the comforting scent of cedar wood, fresh pine needles, warm tea, and the faint sweetness of wild forest flowers. Nothing felt rushed. Everything seemed to move with the slow rhythm of nature. A soft crackle came from a small stone fireplace in the corner, where glowing embers danced peacefully beneath an old iron kettle. Its gentle whistle blended beautifully with the distant chorus of crickets outside. Near the entrance rested a simple wooden sign. Carved into it were only 3 quiet words. Leave hurry behind. There were no rules, no instructions, only a gentle reminder. A woven rug stretched across the polished wooden floor, leading toward a wide circular window overlooking the forest below. From there, the endless sea of treetops shimmered beneath the deepening evening sky. Golden sunlight filtered through the leaves one last time before slowly giving way to shades of lavender and deep blue. Outside, the narrow lantern bridge connected the treehouse to another small platform built around the trunk of an ancient oak. Tiny lanterns hung along the ropes, their golden light reflecting softly against the weathered wooden planks. The bridge moved ever so slightly with the breeze. Not enough to disturb, only enough to remind every traveler that the forest itself was quietly alive. You stepped onto the first plank. It answered with the gentle creak of old, well-loved wood. One lantern flickered warmly beside you. Then another. Each step felt lighter than the last. Below, the forest floor remained hidden beneath a blanket of emerald leaves, while tiny fireflies floated between the branches like living stars. Halfway across the bridge, you paused. The evening wind brushed softly against your face. Somewhere nearby, an owl offered its first gentle call of the night. The sound echoed peacefully through the woodland before fading into silence. At the end of the bridge stood a small wooden bench beneath a flowering vine. Resting upon it was a tiny glass lantern. Unlike the others, its flame glowed with the soft color of amber honey. Beside it lay a folded note. No name, no signature. Only one quiet sentence, written in graceful handwriting. The coziest places are not found, They are gently discovered by hearts that have learned to slow down. The forest grew a little quieter. The stars appeared one by one above the treetops. And somewhere deeper within the woodland, a warm golden light shone between the trees, as though another peaceful corner of the forest was patiently waiting to be explored. The room of gentle rain. Beyond the little platform, a narrow wooden path curved around the ancient oak before leading back into the heart of the treehouse. The lantern in your hand cast a warm circle of golden light upon the polished floorboards. Each step echoed softly, never breaking the silence, only becoming part of it. The old timber walls glowed with the rich color of cedar, while handcrafted shelves held small clay pots filled with tiny forest ferns and delicate white blossoms. Everything inside felt lovingly cared for. Nothing was grand, yet everything felt precious. At the end of the hallway, you noticed another wooden door. Unlike the entrance, this one was painted a soft forest green. Tiny carvings of leaves and raindrops decorated its frame. As you gently turned the brass handle, the door opened without the slightest sound. Inside was a room unlike any other. The ceiling was made entirely of crystal clear glass. Above, countless branches stretched across the night sky like gentle arms, their leaves softly dancing beneath the moonlight. At that very moment, a light rain began to fall. Not a heavy storm, only a quiet woodland rain. Tiny drops touched the glass roof with a delicate rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. Each sound blended perfectly with the whispering wind outside. The room seemed designed for this very moment. A deep armchair sat beside a small fireplace where gentle flames flickered lazily. A knitted blanket rested across one arm. Beside it stood a little wooden table holding a steaming cup of herbal tea, its fragrant steam curling peacefully into the warm air. You settled into the chair. The blanket felt soft. The tea carried gentle notes of chamomile, wild honey, and fresh mint. Outside, rain kissed every leaf of the forest. Moonlight shimmered upon each tiny droplet until the trees looked as though they had been covered with thousands of tiny silver pearls. No voices filled the room. No clocks marked the passing time. Only the comforting rhythm of rain, and the steady crackle of the fireplace. Then your eyes wandered toward a small wooden shelf beside the window. Resting there was an old music box, carved from smooth walnut wood. Its lid stood slightly open. Without anyone touching it, the music box slowly began to play. A gentle lullaby floated through the room. Soft enough to blend with the rain. Quiet enough to never disturb the silence. It felt less like music, and more like the forest itself singing goodnight. As the final note faded into the peaceful evening, you noticed something resting beneath the music box. A tiny handwritten card. Only a single sentence was written upon it. Even the quiet rain knows that the gentlest songs are the ones we never hurry to finish. Outside, the rain continued its peaceful conversation with the trees. And somewhere higher among the branches, a small lantern swayed gently, as though quietly inviting you toward the next cozy corner of the treehouse. The balcony above the forest. The gentle melody of the little music box slowly faded, until only the quiet rain remained, For a few peaceful moments, nothing else moved. The fire whispered softly. The lantern glowed with steady warmth, and the forest breathed beneath the crystal roof. Then, a faint breeze slipped through the room. It carried the fresh scent of rain-soaked pine, damp cedar, and blooming jasmine from somewhere deep within the woodland. The curtains stirred gently, almost as if they were inviting you to continue. Beside the fireplace stood a narrow spiral staircase crafted from smooth oak. Its wooden steps curved upward around the trunk of the ancient tree itself. Tiny lanterns hung from the railing, each casting a soft amber glow that danced upon the polished wood. With unhurried steps, you began to climb. The higher you went, the quieter everything became. The gentle rain below blended with the distant rustling of leaves until the sounds felt like one peaceful lullaby. At the top of the staircase waited a small wooden door. Its handle was shaped like an oak leaf. As your hand touched it, the door opened slowly. Beyond it lay a beautiful balcony suspended high above the forest canopy. The view was breathtaking. Countless treetops stretched toward the horizon like gentle green waves. The rain had already passed. Tiny droplets still rested upon every leaf, sparkling beneath the moonlight like scattered crystals. Above, the clouds drifted away one by one. Stars quietly returned to the night sky. The full moon shone brighter than before, bathing the forest in soft silver light. The balcony itself felt wonderfully cozy. A wooden swing hung from sturdy beams, moving ever so gently with the evening breeze. Beside it stood a small round table with a glowing lantern and a freshly baked loaf of warm honey bread wrapped in linen. Its comforting aroma filled the cool night air. You settled onto the swing. It rocked slowly, forward, then back again. Each gentle movement seemed perfectly matched to the rhythm of the forest. Far below, tiny fireflies floated among the branches like golden stars that had chosen to live beneath the trees instead of the sky. Nearby, a family of small birds rested peacefully inside a hollow branch. Nothing disturbed them. The forest felt safe, protected, whole. Then something caught your eye. Hanging from one corner of the balcony was a delicate glass wind chime. It did not ring loudly. Instead, whenever the breeze touched it, it released only the softest crystal notes. Light enough to blend with the wind itself. Tied to the wind chime was a small wooden tag. Written upon it were gentle words. The happiest hearts are often those that have learned to enjoy the quiet moments between life's busiest days. The swing continued its slow rhythm. The lantern glowed warmly beside you. And beyond the endless forest, a distant golden light appeared among the trees. Not bright enough to call you, only gentle enough to remind you that another peaceful discovery was waiting just ahead. The little library in the branches. The distant golden light remained still, never growing brighter, never fading away. It simply waited, like an old friend who knew there was no need to hurry. Leaving the balcony behind, you followed a narrow wooden walkway that gently curved around the ancient oak. The path wound through thick branches draped with soft green moss, where tiny lanterns hung like glowing fruit among the leaves. The forest had grown wonderfully quiet. Only the occasional flutter of wings, the whisper of leaves, and the gentle creak of old wood accompanied your steps. Soon, the walkway ended before a tiny wooden cottage nestled between three enormous branches. It was no larger than a single room. Its roof was covered with moss and tiny white flowers. Its round windows glowed with warm amber light. Above the little door hung a simple carved sign. The little library. You stepped inside. The room welcomed you with the comforting fragrance of cedar, old paper, and fresh pine. Bookshelves lined every wall from floor to ceiling. They weren't filled with grand encyclopedias or heavy volumes. Instead, each shelf held slim books bound in linen, leather, and soft cloth. Every book looked well loved. In the center of the room stood a round wooden table. Upon it rested a single open book. Its pages were illustrated with delicate watercolor paintings of forests, rivers, mountains, and quiet cottages. There were very few words. Only gentle scenes that invited the imagination to wander peacefully. An old rocking chair beside the fireplace moved ever so slightly. Though no one sat in it, it wasn't unsettling. It felt comforting, as if the treehouse itself were quietly breathing. Near the window stood a tiny wooden ladder leading to a circular reading nook built into the trunk of the oak. Curious, you climbed inside. The little space was lined with soft cushions and knitted blankets. A small lantern hung overhead, casting a golden glow across the pages of a nearby book. From the round window, you could see the moon shining gently through the branches. The world outside seemed wonderfully far away. Here, there were no clocks, no busy schedules, only stories and silence. As you reached for one of the books, a single bookmark slipped gently onto the cushion. It was pressed from a real maple leaf, perfectly preserved. Written across it, in elegant handwriting, were these quiet words. Some of life's most beautiful chapters are written during the moments we choose to simply be still. You placed the bookmark back between the pages with gentle care. Outside, the breeze moved softly through the treetops. The lantern light flickered once, then settled again, and somewhere above the highest branches, a family of tiny glowing fireflies began to gather, forming a gentle ribbon of golden light that seemed to lead even deeper into the peaceful forest. The garden above the leaves. The ribbon of golden fireflies drifted slowly through the branches, never rushing, never stopping. Their tiny lights rose like floating stars, gently guiding the way deeper into the ancient oak. You followed them along a narrow wooden staircase that wrapped around the great tree. The steps were smooth beneath your feet, polished by countless peaceful evenings. With every step upward, the forest below became quieter. The sounds of the little library faded into the distance, replaced by the soft whisper of leaves dancing high in the canopy. The cool night air carried the sweet fragrance of blooming jasmine, wild lavender, and fresh cedar. At the top of the staircase stood a simple wooden gate woven with climbing ivy. Its arch was covered in tiny white blossoms that glowed softly beneath the moonlight. As you gently pushed it open, a hidden garden revealed itself. It rested upon a broad platform built among the highest branches of the tree. The garden felt like a peaceful world above the forest. Rows of wooden flower boxes overflowed with colorful blossoms. Tiny lavender flowers swayed beside white daisies. Bluebells nodded gently in the evening breeze. Clusters of soft pink roses climbed along delicate wooden trellises. In one corner, herbs grew quietly in clay pots. Fresh mint, chamomile, rosemary, and fragrant thyme. Their calming aroma filled the cool night air. Small lanterns hung from the branches overhead, their warm amber glow blending beautifully with the silver moonlight. Nearby, a tiny stone fountain trickled gently. Its crystal clear water flowed into a shallow basin where two little birds stopped for a peaceful drink before fluttering back into the trees. At the center of the garden stood a round wooden table. Upon it rested a teapot of warm herbal tea beside two handmade ceramic cups. Thin curls of steam rose lazily into the night, as though someone had prepared everything only moments before. A gentle breeze passed through the garden. The flowers swayed together like a quiet greeting. The lanterns rocked softly. Even the leaves seemed to whisper with contentment. You sat upon a small wooden bench beneath a flowering vine. From here, the forest stretched endlessly beneath the stars. No rooftops, no roads, only waves of emerald trees reaching toward the moonlit horizon. For a long while, nothing happened, and somehow, that felt perfect, because peace rarely announces itself. It simply arrives, and quietly stays. Resting beside the teapot was a small envelope sealed with a tiny pressed lavender flower. Inside was a single handwritten message. The gentlest gardens are not remembered for their flowers alone, but for the quiet hearts that learn to bloom within them. You folded the note carefully and placed it back inside the envelope. Above, the stars shimmered softly. Below, the forest slept peacefully. And beyond the edge of the garden, a narrow rope bridge disappeared into the moonlit branches, leading toward another warm light, hidden quietly among the trees, waiting for the next gentle step. The balcony above the forest. You gently slide open the small wooden balcony door, and a whisper of cool evening air welcomes you. Stepping outside, the treehouse seems to float among the ancient branches, high above the quiet forest floor. The sturdy wooden balcony wraps around the great oak, offering a peaceful place where the world feels wonderfully slow. A comfortable rocking chair waits beside a small round table. On the table rests a steaming cup of warm herbal tea, its delicate scent of chamomile and honey drifting softly through the air. You settle into the chair, and it begins to sway almost by itself, matching the gentle rhythm of the evening breeze. Far below, the forest speaks in quiet voices. Leaves rustle softly. A distant stream sings its endless melody. Somewhere nearby, a tiny bird offers one final evening song before settling into its hidden nest. The golden light of sunset filters through countless green leaves, painting warm patterns across the wooden floor beneath your feet. Every beam of light seems to dance gently as the branches move with the wind. The treehouse itself creaks now and then, not with worry, but with the comforting sound of aged wood embracing the living tree that has carried it safely for so many years. You lift the warm cup with both hands. The gentle warmth spreads through your fingers, while the fragrant steam rises quietly into the cool forest air. There is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing asks for your attention. No clocks. No hurried footsteps. Only this peaceful balcony, the whispering forest, and the calm rhythm of your own breathing. As the sun slowly sinks behind the distant hills, tiny golden fireflies begin appearing one by one between the trees, like little lanterns awakening to welcome the coming night. For a few quiet moments, you simply watch them drift through the forest, glowing softly against the deepening evening sky. And somehow, it feels as though the forest has been waiting all day for you to arrive here, just in time to witness this peaceful little miracle. Herb Crescent Moon. A small supper by lantern light. As twilight gently settles over the forest, you return inside the cozy treehouse and softly close the balcony door behind you. The room is now wrapped in the warm glow of a single hanging lantern. Its golden light dances across the wooden walls, making the little home feel even more welcoming. Near the window, you notice a simple dinner waiting for you. Nothing extravagant, just a bowl of fresh vegetable soup, a slice of warm homemade bread, a small piece of creamy cheese, and a handful of sweet forest berries gathered earlier that day. The meal feels exactly right. You take a slow sip of the soup. Its warmth spreads gently through you, carrying the comforting flavors of herbs, fresh vegetables, and a touch of rosemary. Outside, the evening breeze brushes softly against the leaves. Inside, every small sound seems peaceful. The quiet crackle of the tiny stove, the gentle clink of a wooden spoon against the bowl, the faint rustling of curtains moving with the cool air slipping through a slightly open window. You eat slowly, without rushing. Every bite invites you to pause, to breathe, to simply enjoy this quiet moment. On a nearby shelf, a small handwritten note catches your eye. It reads, "Simple meals always taste better when they are shared with silence, gratitude, and the beauty of nature." You smile gently. Perhaps whoever built this treehouse understood something many people forget. Comfort isn't found in having more. Sometimes, it quietly appears in the simplest moments: a warm meal, a peaceful room, and the comforting feeling of being completely at ease. When your supper is finished, you pour the last little cup of herbal tea. Holding it close, you sit quietly beside the lantern as the forest outside slowly settles into the peaceful rhythm of the coming night. The stars are beginning to appear beyond the branches, and the treehouse feels more like home with every passing moment. Crescent Moon Herb. The hidden reading nook. With supper finished, you wander quietly through the treehouse once more, noticing little details that seem to hide in plain sight. Near the curved staircase, behind a soft linen curtain, you discover a tiny doorway tucked beneath the sloping roof. Curious, you gently pull the curtain aside. Inside is a peaceful little reading nook, built into the heart of the ancient oak itself. A wide window frames the forest like a living painting. A deep armchair, covered with a thick knitted blanket, sits beside a low wooden bookshelf filled with weathered books whose leather covers have softened with time. You choose one at random. Its pages carry the faint, comforting scent of old paper and cedar wood. As you open the book, you find delicate hand-drawn illustrations of birds, forest flowers, quiet rivers, and forgotten woodland paths. There are no dramatic adventures, no hurried chapters, only gentle observations about nature, peaceful journeys, and the quiet beauty hidden in ordinary moments. You settle into the armchair. The soft cushion welcomes you as though it has been waiting patiently for another reader. Outside the window, the evening sky has deepened into rich shades of blue. Fireflies drift lazily between the branches like tiny floating stars. A gentle owl calls somewhere in the distance. Its calm voice echoes through the forest before fading once again into silence. You read only a few pages. Not because the book isn't interesting, but because every sentence invites you to pause, to look outside, to listen, to simply exist within the peaceful rhythm of the forest. The lantern beside your chair glows softly, casting warm circles of light across the wooden floor. The pages turn slowly beneath your fingertips, one by one, without hurry, without expectation. It feels less like reading a book, and more like sharing a quiet conversation with the forest itself. And as the peaceful night settles around the cozy treehouse, you begin to realize that some stories are not meant to be rushed. They are meant to be lived, one calm page at a time. Herb open book crescent moon. Rain upon the rooftop. As you gently close the old book and place it back on the shelf, the forest grows wonderfully still. For a quiet moment, everything seems to pause. Then, from somewhere beyond the treetops, a single raindrop lands softly upon the wooden roof. Tap. A few seconds later, another follows. Tap. Tap. Soon, countless tiny raindrops begin falling together, creating a gentle melody above the cozy treehouse. The sound is soft, steady, comforting. Not a storm, only a peaceful evening shower drifting through the ancient forest. You move toward the nearest window and watch as the rain paints delicate silver lines across the glass. The leaves outside sparkle with fresh droplets. Every branch glistens beneath the lantern glow spilling gently from the treehouse windows. The fireflies disappear for a little while, finding quiet shelter beneath broad green leaves. Far below, the little stream welcomes the fresh rain, its gentle song becoming just a little richer and fuller. Inside, everything feels even warmer now. The tiny stove continues to glow. The wooden walls seem to hold the comforting warmth close around you. The lantern burns steadily, filling every corner with soft golden light. You wrap the knitted blanket a little closer around your shoulders and settle into the armchair once again. The rhythm of the rain soon becomes almost like a lullaby. No two drops sound exactly alike, yet together they create a peaceful harmony that asks nothing from you except to listen. The scent of rain-soaked pine drifts in through the slightly open window. Fresh, earthy, calm. The forest seems to breathe more deeply with every passing minute. You close your eyes for just a moment. The rain above, the warmth beside you, the quiet heartbeat of the treehouse around the great old oak. Everything feels safe. Everything feels unhurried. As the gentle rain continues to whisper across the rooftop, you realize that even the sky sometimes slows down, simply to sing a peaceful song for those willing to listen. Cloud with rain, evergreen tree, home, crescent moon. A sky full of stars. The gentle rain lingers for a little while. And then, just as quietly as it arrived, it begins to drift away. The final raindrops slide from the roof with soft little taps before disappearing into the forest below. You open the balcony door once more. The air feels wonderfully fresh. Every leaf glows with tiny drops of water, catching the faint silver light that now shines through the clearing sky. The forest seems to have been gently washed clean. You step onto the balcony. The rocking chair is still waiting exactly where you left it. The wooden boards beneath your feet are cool and slightly damp, carrying the sweet scent of rain-soaked oak. Above you, the clouds slowly part. One by one, bright stars begin to appear across the deep velvet sky. At first there are only a few, then dozens. Soon, countless tiny lights sparkle overhead, stretching far beyond the tops of the ancient trees. Without the lights of busy towns or noisy streets, the night sky feels endless. The stars shine with remarkable clarity, as though someone has carefully scattered diamonds across a great dark canvas. A gentle breeze brushes through the branches. The leaves whisper softly to one another, carrying the last cool breath of the passing rain. Somewhere nearby, an owl calls again. Farther away, crickets begin their peaceful nighttime chorus. Everything feels perfectly balanced. Not too quiet, not too loud. Just enough sound to remind you that the forest is alive, gently settling into its nightly rhythm. You lean back in the rocking chair and simply look upward. There is no need to count the stars. No need to search for familiar constellations. Tonight, it is enough just to watch them shimmer. The universe feels vast, yet this little treehouse somehow feels like the perfect place to enjoy it. Wrapped in the comforting embrace of the ancient oak, surrounded by the peaceful forest, you begin to notice something wonderful. The slower you breathe, the brighter the stars seem to become. And for a little while, under the quiet sky, it feels as though the whole forest is keeping watch with you. Patiently, peacefully, until sleep gently finds its way to your side. Milky Way, evergreen tree, crescent moon. The attic of gentle memories. The stars remain quietly above you for a little while longer. Eventually, the cool night air invites you back inside the warmth of the treehouse. You softly close the balcony door, and the familiar glow of the lantern welcomes you once again. As you look around, something catches your eye. A narrow wooden ladder leads upward through a small opening in the ceiling. It is easy to miss, almost as if the treehouse prefers to reveal its little secrets one at a time. Curious, you climb the ladder slowly. Each step gives a gentle, comforting creak beneath your feet. At the top, you find a tiny attic tucked beneath the sloping roof. It is simple, yet filled with quiet charm. A small round window looks out over the sleeping forest, where moonlight filters through the branches in soft silver beams. Around the room are a few old wooden chests, woven baskets, and neatly folded quilts. Nothing feels forgotten. Everything has been lovingly cared for. On a weathered shelf rests a collection of small keepsakes. A smooth river stone. A tiny carved wooden bird. A pressed fern carefully placed between two pieces of glass. A delicate feather with shades of white and gray. Each object seems to hold a gentle memory of peaceful days spent close to nature. Beside them lies a small leather journal. Its pages are filled not with grand adventures, but with simple reflections, short notes about quiet mornings, the first birdsong of spring, the scent of pine after gentle rain, the joy of watching autumn leaves drift slowly through the forest. Reading those thoughtful words, you begin to realize something beautiful. The happiest memories are often the quietest ones. They don't need excitement to become unforgettable. Sometimes, a peaceful evening, a warm lantern, or the gentle rustling of leaves can stay in the heart for a lifetime. You close the journal carefully and return it to its place. The little attic grows wonderfully still once again. Moonlight continues to pour softly through the round window, filling the room with a peaceful silver glow. For a few calm moments, you simply stand there, listening to the quiet breathing of the ancient tree, feeling grateful for this hidden place, where even the smallest memories are treasured with kindness, and where every gentle moment seems to find a home. Crescent moon herb open book. The bedroom among the branches. Leaving the little attic behind. You make your way down the wooden ladder. Each step slow and unhurried. The lantern still glows softly below, filling the treehouse with its familiar golden warmth. As the evening grows quieter, you notice one final door at the end of a short hallway. It has remained gently closed all this time. You turn the smooth wooden handle. The door opens without a sound. Inside, you discover the treehouse bedroom. It is simple, yet it feels like the very heart of this peaceful home. A handcrafted wooden bed rests beside a wide window that stretches almost from floor to ceiling. Soft linen sheets, a thick quilt, and fluffy pillows are arranged with quiet care, inviting nothing more than deep rest. A small bedside table holds a tiny lantern whose gentle flame flickers like a calm heartbeat. Beside it stands a little vase filled with fresh wildflowers gathered from the forest earlier that day. Their delicate fragrance blends with the comforting scent of cedar wood and clean mountain air. You walk toward the window. Outside, the branches cradle the treehouse as though the ancient oak itself is standing watch through the night. The moon hangs peacefully above the forest, bathing every leaf in soft silver light. Far below, the stream continues its endless lullaby. Its quiet melody rises gently through the trees, joining the distant chorus of crickets and the occasional call of an owl. Everything beyond the window moves with perfect calm. The branches sway, the leaves whisper, the stars shimmer. Inside, the bedroom remains wonderfully still. You pull the quilt back just enough and sit on the edge of the bed for a quiet moment. The soft mattress settles beneath you with comforting ease. There is no hurry to fall asleep. Sometimes, the most peaceful part of the night is simply knowing that a safe place is waiting for you. You take one last slow look around the room. The warm lantern, the quiet flowers, the gentle moonlight. The old wooden walls that have sheltered countless peaceful nights before this one. It feels as though every corner of the treehouse has been quietly preparing for this moment. To offer you nothing more, and nothing less, than perfect rest among the branches of the ancient forest. Crescent moon evergreen tree bed, drifting into dreams. The room has grown wonderfully quiet. The lantern on the bedside table glows with a softer light now, as though it, too, is preparing for the night to rest. You gently pull the quilt over yourself. It is warm and comfortably heavy, wrapping around you like a gentle embrace. The pillow welcomes your head with quiet softness. Through the open window, a cool forest breeze slips gently inside, carrying the fresh scent of pine, damp earth, and blooming wildflowers. The curtains move ever so slightly, dancing to the slow rhythm of the night air. Above you, the ancient oak holds the treehouse with steady strength. Every now and then, its great branches sway gently, creating the faintest, most comforting creak. It feels almost like being rocked in a peaceful cradle. Outside, the moon continues its silent journey across the sky. Its silver light rests softly upon the windowsill, the wooden floor, and the edge of your quilt. The stars remain scattered overhead, quietly watching over the sleeping forest. Somewhere far away, the little stream still sings its endless lullaby. Closer now, the leaves whisper together with every passing breeze. The sounds blend so naturally that it becomes impossible to tell where one melody ends and another begins. Your breathing grows slower, deeper, gentler. Each slow breath seems to carry away the thoughts of the day, leaving behind only calm and quiet. Your eyelids begin to feel pleasantly heavy, not from tiredness alone, but from the comforting feeling of complete peace. The cozy treehouse seems to breathe with you. The lantern flickers softly. The branches sway. The forest hums its ancient song. Everything moves together in perfect harmony. There is nothing left to do. Nothing left to finish. Only this quiet moment. This warm bed. And the gentle promise that sleep is already finding its way to you. As your eyes slowly close, the peaceful treehouse becomes less like a place you are visiting, and more like a dream you have somehow always known. A quiet home among the branches, where every night ends with comfort, and every dream begins with peace. Crescent moon evergreen tree sparkles. Good night, until we meet again. The treehouse is completely still now. The lantern beside your bed has grown dim, its gentle glow fading into the soft silver light of the moon. Outside, the ancient oak stands quietly beneath the star-filled sky, its great branches embracing the little home with timeless care. The forest has settled into peaceful silence. The stream continues its gentle song in the distance. The crickets keep their calm evening rhythm. Every now and then, a cool breeze wanders through the leaves, carrying the comforting scent of pine and fresh earth. You rest beneath the warm quilt, breathing slowly and easily. There is nothing more to discover tonight. Every quiet corner of the cozy treehouse has welcomed you. From the peaceful balcony above the forest, to the warm lantern-lit supper, the hidden reading nook, the gentle rain upon the rooftop, the endless stars, the little attic filled with treasured memories. And finally, this peaceful bedroom among the branches. Each moment has become part of a calm journey that asked only one thing of you: to slow down, to breathe, to simply be present. The treehouse seems to whisper one final message before sleep gently carries you away. You are always welcome here. No matter how busy tomorrow may become, this quiet place will still be waiting. The lantern will glow once more. The rocking chair will sway gently in the evening breeze. The forest will sing its timeless songs. And the old oak will continue to hold this little home high above the world, just as it always has. Perhaps, one peaceful evening, you will find your way back again. Until then, may your dreams be gentle, your heart feel light, and your rest be deep and peaceful. Thank you for spending this quiet evening in the cozy treehouse. Sleep well, and when the morning comes, the forest will still be here, waiting patiently beneath the whispering branches. Good night, and until our next peaceful journey together. Crescent Moon Evergreen Tree Sparkles. End of Episode 5. White Heart. Good evening and welcome to all channel. The day is slowly drawing to a close. The golden light of the afternoon softens into the gentle colors of early evening. And the quiet forest seems to breathe a little more slowly with every passing moment. You follow a narrow stone path that winds peacefully through tall pine trees and flowering meadows. The air is fresh and pleasantly cool. A light breeze carries the comforting scent of cedar, lavender, and wild roses blooming beside the trail. Somewhere nearby, a small stream hums its quiet melody, hidden beneath graceful ferns and smooth moss-covered stones. Birds sing their final songs before night begins, their gentle voices echoing softly through the forest. Above, the sky slowly changes from warm gold to soft shades of lavender and pale blue. The path curves gently around an old hill, and there, waiting quietly among a garden of colorful flowers, you catch your very first glimpse of it. A beautiful little cottage. Its walls are built from weathered stone, covered with climbing ivy and blooming white roses. Golden light glows warmly through the windows, welcoming every traveler without saying a single word. A small wooden sign hangs beside the front gate. Carved neatly into the wood are the simple words: "The Artist's Cottage." Tiny lanterns line the stone pathway leading to the front door. Their soft amber light flickers gently as the evening breeze passes by. Near the entrance, paintbrushes rest inside an old ceramic jar beside a wooden easel, as though someone had quietly stepped away only moments ago. The surrounding garden is wonderfully peaceful. Lavender sways gently. Sunflowers turn toward the last light of day. Butterflies drift lazily between blossoms before settling down for the evening. You pause for a quiet moment at the little wooden gate. The cottage feels calm, unhurried, as though time itself has chosen to slow down here. You take one slow breath, filling your lungs with the fragrance of flowers and fresh forest air. Then, with quiet curiosity and a peaceful heart, you gently open the garden gate and step into another evening filled with warmth, beauty, and gentle moments waiting to be discovered. Crescent Moon Paint Palette Cherry Blossom. The garden of quiet colors. The little wooden gate closes softly behind you. Almost immediately, the sounds of the outside world seem to fade away, leaving only the peaceful rhythm of the garden. A narrow stone path winds gently through beds of blooming flowers, each one carefully arranged with quiet care. Lavender fills the air with its calming fragrance. White daisies sway gently beside clusters of pale blue hydrangeas. Soft pink roses climb graceful wooden arches, their delicate petals glowing beneath the fading evening light. You walk slowly, taking your time. There is no need to hurry here. Tiny honeybees finish their final visits among the blossoms before returning home, while a pair of butterflies drift lazily from flower to flower, as though dancing with the breeze. Near the center of the garden stands a small stone fountain. Clear water rises gently before falling back into the shallow basin below with the softest, most comforting sound. The quiet trickle blends beautifully with the distant song of the forest stream. Beside the fountain rests an old wooden bench beneath a flowering cherry tree. A few pale pink petals float quietly through the evening air, settling gently upon the grass below. Nearby, rows of clay pots hold herbs growing in peaceful abundance. Fresh mint, chamomile, rosemary, lavender. Their gentle scents mingle together, creating an atmosphere that feels wonderfully calm and welcoming. You pause beside a weathered wooden easel standing beneath the shade of an ancient maple tree. A half-finished landscape painting still rests upon it. Gentle hills, a winding river, golden fields beneath a quiet evening sky. No artist is nearby, yet the cottage seems to carry their peaceful presence in every carefully placed brushstroke. The soft breeze stirs the corner of the canvas ever so slightly, almost as though the painting itself is quietly breathing with the garden. As the last rays of sunlight slip behind the distant hills, tiny lanterns around the flower beds begin to glow one by one. Their warm amber light slowly replaces the fading daylight, wrapping the entire garden in a gentle evening warmth. You continue along the peaceful path, surrounded by quiet colors, fragrant flowers, and the comforting feeling that every step here has been lovingly painted with calm. Crescent Moon Paint Palette Cherry Blossom. The studio filled with light, leaving the peaceful garden behind. You walk toward the cottage door. It opens with the gentlest touch, revealing a room filled with warmth and quiet beauty. Soft golden light spills from several lanterns hanging gently from old wooden beams above. The studio is simple, comfortable. Every corner seems thoughtfully arranged, inviting calm rather than attention. Large windows stretch almost from floor to ceiling, allowing the final glow of evening to rest softly across the wooden floor. Outside, the garden still sways peacefully beneath the deepening sky. Inside, rows of paintbrushes stand neatly in handmade ceramic jars. Some are slender and delicate. Others are wide, their soft bristles still carrying faint traces of peaceful colors. Nearby, wooden shelves hold small glass bottles filled with natural pigments. Gentle shades of forest green, sky blue, warm amber, soft lavender, creamy white, earthy brown. Every color feels inspired by the quiet world just beyond the windows. A sturdy oak table rests in the center of the room. Upon it lie smooth sketchbooks, folded linen cloths, and several unfinished watercolor paintings waiting patiently for another peaceful evening. Nothing appears rushed. Nothing feels unfinished. Everything simply waits with quiet confidence. Beside the table stands a tall wooden easel facing the wide window. A fresh canvas rests upon it, completely blank. Its empty surface feels surprisingly comforting. Not because something is missing, but because it quietly reminds you that every peaceful beginning starts with a single gentle moment. The evening breeze slips softly through the open window, causing the linen curtains to sway like calm waves upon a quiet lake. The fresh scent of flowers drifts inside once again, blending gently with the comforting aroma of polished cedar wood and natural paint. You walk slowly through the peaceful studio, listening to the quiet creak of the old wooden floor beneath your feet. The room seems to whisper its own gentle invitation to slow your thoughts, to notice simple beauty, and to let the quiet colors of the evening paint a little peace upon your heart. Paint palette, crescent moon candle, a cup of tea and quiet inspiration. The peaceful studio slowly settles into the calm rhythm of the evening. The golden lanterns glow a little warmer now, filling the room with a soft, comforting light that gently dances across the wooden walls. Near one of the windows, you notice a small tea table waiting quietly. A porcelain teapot rests upon a woven mat beside two delicate cups painted with tiny wildflowers. Steam rises gently from the spout, carrying the soothing fragrance of chamomile, honey, and a touch of fresh mint from the garden outside. You pour yourself a warm cup. The quiet sound of tea filling the cup seems almost like part of the evening's gentle music. Holding the warm porcelain between your hands, you move toward a comfortable chair beside the wide window. Outside, the last colors of sunset slowly melt into a peaceful twilight. The garden lanterns now shine softly among the flowers, while the distant forest grows calm beneath the first evening stars. You take a slow sip. The warmth spreads gently through you. The delicate flavors are simple, yet wonderfully comforting. Nothing feels hurried. Nothing asks for your attention. Only the quiet moment before you. On a nearby shelf rests a small leather notebook. Its pages are filled with short reflections written in graceful handwriting. One simple sentence catches your eye. The most beautiful paintings are not created in busy hands, but in peaceful hearts. You read the words once more, then quietly close the notebook. There is no need to think too deeply about them. Some thoughts are meant to rest gently within us, just like soft evening light resting upon a quiet garden. The breeze carries the scent of lavender through the open window once again. The curtains sway slowly. The lantern flickers peacefully. Somewhere outside, a robin sings one final song before the night gently embraces the little cottage. You lean back in the chair, holding your warm cup close, allowing the peaceful silence to become its own quiet masterpiece. Painted not with colors, but with comfort, stillness, and gentle inspiration. Paint palette hot beverage crescent moon. The window beside the meadow. The last sip of tea leaves a gentle warmth behind. You place the delicate cup back upon its saucer. And for a quiet moment, simply listen. The cottage is wonderfully still. The soft ticking of an old wooden clock. The faint crackle of a lantern's flame. The peaceful whisper of the evening breeze beyond the window. Nothing more. Drawn by the fading light outside, you walk slowly toward a tall window at the far end of the studio. Its wooden frame has grown smooth with time, polished by countless peaceful evenings. Beyond the glass stretches a wide meadow, glowing beneath the soft colors of twilight. The tall grasses move together like gentle waves upon a calm sea. Wildflowers sway quietly among them, their colors now softened beneath the gentle blue of the approaching night. Far in the distance, quiet rolling hills rest beneath a sky slowly welcoming its very first stars. A narrow stream winds gracefully through the meadow, reflecting ribbons of silver light as it continues its peaceful journey. You unlock the window and gently push it open. Fresh evening air flows inside. It carries the sweet fragrance of wildflowers, cool earth, and distant pine trees resting at the edge of the meadow. The linen curtains rise softly, dancing for a moment before settling once again. You rest your hands upon the smooth wooden windowsill. From here, the world feels beautifully unhurried. A pair of swallows glide silently across the sky before disappearing toward their hidden nests. Nearby, tall sunflowers bow gently, as though offering a quiet goodnight to the fading day. The first stars grow a little brighter overhead. One by one, without haste, the peaceful meadow slowly changes beneath the gentle light of evening. Not because anything dramatic happens, but because nature knows how to welcome the night with quiet grace. You remain by the open window, breathing slowly. The calm air, the gentle colors, the endless stillness beyond the cottage. For a little while, it feels as though the entire landscape has become a living painting. One that is never rushed, never finished, and always beautiful in its peaceful simplicity. Rice Plant Crescent Moon Paint Palette. The gallery of gentle paintings. The evening grows quieter with every passing moment. You gently close the window, leaving just enough space for the cool breeze to continue drifting inside. As you turn, you notice a narrow hallway softly illuminated by warm lantern light. At the end of the hallway stands a simple wooden door. It has no sign, no decoration, only a small brass handle, polished smooth by time. You open it slowly. Beyond the doorway lies a quiet gallery. Not a grand museum, not a crowded exhibition. Just a peaceful room where paintings rest together in perfect silence. The walls are lined with carefully framed landscapes, each one capturing a calm moment from nature. A quiet lake at sunrise. A misty woodland path after gentle rain. A cozy mountain cabin beneath falling snow. A field of lavender swaying beneath the summer breeze. An old stone bridge crossing a peaceful river. Every painting feels familiar, as though each place has quietly existed in your heart long before you ever saw it. Soft lanterns hang from the ceiling. their warm glow bringing each gentle brushstroke to life without disturbing the peaceful atmosphere. The polished wooden floor reflects the golden light, making the room feel calm and welcoming. Near the center of the gallery stands a single wooden bench. You sit for a while, allowing your eyes to wander slowly from one painting to the next. There is no need to understand them, no hidden meaning to search for, only peaceful scenes inviting you to pause and simply look. The cottage seems to believe that beauty does not need to speak loudly. Sometimes, a quiet landscape, a gentle sky, or the soft reflection of light upon still water can say everything the heart needs to hear. As the lanterns continue their gentle glow, the gallery becomes wonderfully still. Outside, the first chorus of crickets begins beneath the evening sky. Inside, every painting quietly holds its own little moment of peace. Waiting patiently, just as the cottage has been waiting for you. Paint palette crescent moon framed picture. The balcony beneath the moon. The quiet gallery remains peaceful behind you as you gently close the wooden door. The warm lantern light follows you back through the hallway, leading to a pair of glass doors at the far end of the cottage. You turn the small brass handle. The doors open without a sound. A cool evening breeze welcomes you. You step onto a small wooden balcony overlooking the moonlit meadow. It is simple, yet beautifully inviting. A comfortable wicker chair rests beside a little round table, where a softly glowing lantern casts warm circles of light across the wooden floor. A light wool blanket has been folded neatly over the chair, waiting for the cool evening air. You settle into the chair, feeling it gently rock beneath you. The cottage grows wonderfully quiet behind your back. Ahead of you, the peaceful landscape stretches as far as the eye can see. The meadow now rests beneath the silver glow of the rising moon. Wildflowers shimmer softly as the breeze moves through them. The little stream reflects ribbons of moonlight, winding gracefully toward the distant hills. Above, the sky has become a deep velvet blue. Countless stars begin to appear, one after another, filling the heavens with gentle light. There is no city nearby, no bright streets. Only the quiet beauty of the open countryside beneath the endless night. A pair of fireflies drift lazily through the garden below, their tiny golden lights rising and falling like little floating lanterns. The lavender continues to sway softly, releasing its calming fragrance into the cool night air. You wrap the blanket lightly around your shoulders. Its gentle warmth blends perfectly with the fresh evening breeze. Everything feels balanced. Warmth and coolness, light and shadow, stillness and gentle movement. You rest your hands upon the smooth wooden railing. The peaceful silence asks nothing of you. It simply welcomes you to stay for a little while longer. As the moon climbs higher above the quiet meadow, the balcony begins to feel less like part of a cottage, and more like a peaceful place suspended between the earth below and the endless stars above, where every slow breath becomes a quiet brushstroke, painting calm across the heart, one gentle moment at a time. Crescent moon paint palette sparkles. A melody in the moonlight. You remain on the quiet balcony, wrapped in the gentle warmth of the wool blanket. The lantern beside you glows softly, its golden light blending beautifully with the cool silver glow of the moon. For a little while, the world is perfectly still. Then, carried gently upon the evening breeze, you hear something unexpected, a quiet melody, so soft that it almost feels like part of the night itself. You listen carefully. The sound drifts from somewhere within the cottage. Not loud, not demanding, only a few slow, peaceful notes played upon an old piano. They rise gently into the cool air before fading into the open meadow beyond. Curious, you stand and quietly return inside, following the melody through the softly lit hallway. You arrive at a cozy sitting room you had not noticed before. Near the window stands a beautiful upright piano crafted from warm oak. Its polished surface reflects the lantern light like calm water. The piano is silent now. The final notes have already floated away into the peaceful night. Resting upon the music stand is a single sheet of handwritten music. The title simply reads, Evening Light. No composer's name. No signature. Only gentle notes waiting patiently upon the page. Beside the piano, a comfortable chair faces the moonlit window. A small vase of dried lavender rests on the table nearby, filling the room with its familiar calming fragrance. You sit quietly for a moment. The silence after the melody feels just as beautiful as the music itself. Outside, the meadow continues to shimmer beneath the moon. The breeze brushes softly against the open window, causing the pages of the sheet music to move ever so slightly. It almost seems as though the cottage itself is quietly remembering the gentle song. You close your eyes for a peaceful moment. Even without hearing another note, the melody remains with you. Calm, gentle, unhurried, like moonlight resting upon still water. When you open your eyes again, the room feels wonderfully peaceful. Some melodies are not meant to fill great concert halls. They are meant to quietly accompany peaceful evenings like this, softly reminding the heart that the most beautiful music is often the one that fades gently into silence. Piano Crescent Moon Paint Palette. The library of sketchbooks. The quiet melody lingers gently in your thoughts as you leave the little piano room behind. The cottage has become even quieter now. Only the soft glow of lanterns and the peaceful whisper of the evening breeze remain. As you wander slowly along another hallway, you notice a tall bookshelf built neatly into the old stone wall. It stretches from the wooden floor almost to the ceiling, filled with rows of carefully arranged sketchbooks. Some are wrapped in soft linen. Others are bound in worn leather, their edges gently rounded by time. You run your fingertips lightly across their spines before choosing one at random. Its cover is simple. No title. Only a tiny painted leaf pressed into the leather. You carry it to a nearby window seat where a small lantern casts a warm circle of light. Outside, the moon continues to shine peacefully across the quiet meadow. You open the sketchbook. Inside are gentle pencil drawings. An old oak tree standing proudly through every season. A little robin resting upon a garden fence. Morning dew gathered upon lavender petals. Rain falling softly across a wooden bridge. A steaming cup of tea beside an open window. Each page captures an ordinary moment. Yet every drawing feels quietly extraordinary. There are no long explanations. Only a few handwritten words beneath each sketch. Notice the little things. Light changes everything. Peace often arrives quietly. You turn another page. The paper carries the faint scent of cedar and aged parchment. The charcoal lines are soft and careful, as though every drawing had been created slowly, with patience instead of hurry. You continue turning the pages at an easy pace. One by one, without rushing. The cottage seems to whisper the same gentle lesson once again. That beauty does not ask to be discovered all at once. Sometimes, it reveals itself a single page at a time. You close the sketchbook with quiet gratitude and return it carefully to its place upon the shelf. The lantern flickers softly. The moonlight rests upon the wooden floor. And the peaceful little library settles back into its gentle silence, waiting patiently for another quiet evening. And another curious heart to open its pages. Open book, paint palette, crescent moon. Rain on the garden glass. As you leave the quiet library, the cottage settles into an even deeper silence. The lanterns continue to glow with their gentle golden light, while beyond the windows, the moon hangs peacefully above the sleeping meadow. Then, a tiny sound touches the evening. Tap. A single raindrop lands upon the glass roof of the little garden room beside the cottage. A moment later, another follows. Tap. Tap. Soon, a gentle shower begins, drifting softly across the flowers, the stone paths, and the climbing roses that embrace the old walls. You walk toward the garden room, where wide glass windows look out over the rain-kissed garden. The sound is wonderfully soothing. Raindrops gather upon the glass before slowly slipping downward in delicate silver trails. Outside, the lavender bows gently beneath the fresh rain. The roses sparkle with tiny crystal droplets. The little stone fountain continues its quiet song, now joined by the soft rhythm of falling rain. You settle into a comfortable wicker chair beside the window. A warm wool blanket rests across your knees, while the familiar lantern beside you fills the room with a peaceful amber glow. The air smells wonderfully fresh. Rain upon warm stone, wet earth, blooming flowers, and the faint, comforting scent of cedar carried from the cottage itself. The rain is never hurried. Each drop seems to arrive exactly when it should. The gentle rhythm blends with the quiet ticking of the old clock somewhere deeper inside the cottage. Nothing interrupts the peaceful moment. No thunder, no strong wind, only a calm evening shower quietly nourishing the garden below. You watch the rain for a little while longer. The world beyond the glass becomes softer, its colors blending together like watercolor paint upon fine paper. The meadow fades gently into silver mist. The lanterns glow a little brighter against the deepening night, and the cottage feels warmer than ever. As the rain continues its peaceful song upon the glass, you begin to understand why artists so often love quiet evenings like this. Because sometimes, the gentlest rain paints the most beautiful masterpiece, without ever holding a brush. Cloud with rain paint palette, crescent moon. A sky full of quiet stars. The gentle rain lingers for a little while. And then, just as softly as it arrived, it begins to fade away. The final raindrops slip from the glass roof with delicate little whispers before disappearing into the flower beds below. You quietly open the garden room door. Fresh night air greets you at once. Cool, clean, filled with the comforting fragrance of rain-soaked lavender, blooming roses, and fresh earth. The garden seems wonderfully renewed. Every leaf holds a tiny crystal droplet. Every flower glistens beneath the gentle light of the moon. You walk slowly along the stone path until you reach the little wooden bench beneath the flowering cherry tree. The petals are still. The breeze has become gentle once again. You take a seat and look toward the open sky. The clouds have quietly drifted away. One by one, the stars begin to return. At first, only a few soft lights appear above the meadow. Then a few more. Soon, the entire sky is filled with countless peaceful stars, stretching far beyond the distant hills. Without the brightness of busy streets, each star shines with remarkable clarity. The Milky Way forms a faint ribbon of light across the heavens, like a quiet brushstroke painted upon a deep velvet canvas. The little stream beyond the meadow reflects tiny pieces of the night sky as it continues its endless journey. Fireflies return to the garden, floating gently among the flowers like small golden lanterns. Nearby, the fountain continues its peaceful melody. Farther away, crickets begin their quiet evening chorus once more. Every sound feels perfectly placed. Nothing too loud, nothing too quiet, only the calm rhythm of nature settling comfortably into the night. You lean back against the wooden bench and breathe slowly. The cool air, the fragrance of the garden, the endless stars above, the peaceful cottage glowing warmly behind you. Everything seems to belong together. For a little while, you simply watch the quiet sky. No need to count the stars. No need to search for familiar patterns. Tonight, it is enough just to let their gentle light remind you that even the largest skies can feel wonderfully peaceful. When viewed from a small, quiet garden where every evening is painted with calm, sparkles crescent moon paint palette, the attic of quiet masterpieces, the stars remain above for a little while longer. Eventually, the cool night air gently encourages you back toward the warm glow of the cottage. You step inside and softly close the garden door behind you. The familiar lantern light welcomes you once again. As you walk through the quiet hallway, your eyes are drawn upward. A narrow wooden staircase rises toward a small attic tucked beneath the sloping roof. It almost seems hidden, as though the cottage has been patiently waiting until now to reveal one final secret. You climb the steps slowly. Each wooden stair gives a gentle, comforting creak beneath your feet. At the top, you discover a peaceful little attic bathed in a blend of moonlight and warm lantern glow. A round window overlooks the sleeping meadow below, where silver light rests softly upon the flowers and winding stream. The room is simple, wonderfully uncluttered. Several finished paintings lean carefully against the old wooden walls. None are large, none are extravagant, yet each one quietly holds a moment of peace. A misty morning beside a quiet lake. Golden sunlight resting upon an empty garden bench. Wildflowers dancing beneath a gentle summer breeze. Fresh rain upon a stone pathway. Moonlight shining through the branches of an ancient oak. Every painting feels less like a picture, and more like a peaceful memory carefully preserved. Near the window rests an old wooden chest. Inside are neatly rolled canvases tied with soft linen ribbon. Beside them lies a worn paint palette. Tiny traces of gentle blues, warm greens, soft creams, and golden amber still remain upon its surface. It looks as though the artist simply finished a quiet evening of painting and stepped away for a peaceful night's rest. You sit beside the round window for a few calm moments. The moonlight reaches gently across the floorboards. The lantern flickers quietly nearby. Nothing asks to be admired. Nothing asks to be explained. The attic simply offers a quiet reminder that the most beautiful creations are often made slowly, with patience, kindness, and a peaceful heart. You smile softly before standing once again, leaving every painting exactly where it belongs. You quietly close the attic door behind you, allowing its gentle masterpieces to continue resting peacefully beneath the stars. Paint palette crescent moon framed picture. The attic of quiet masterpieces. The stars remain above for a little while longer. Eventually, the cool night air gently encourages you back toward the warm glow of the cottage. You step inside and softly close the garden door behind you. The familiar lantern light welcomes you once again. As you walk through the quiet hallway, your eyes are drawn upward. A narrow wooden staircase rises toward a small attic tucked beneath the sloping roof. It almost seems hidden, as though the cottage has been patiently waiting until now to reveal one final secret. You climb the steps slowly. Each wooden stair gives a gentle, comforting creak beneath your feet. At the top, you discover a peaceful little attic bathed in a blend of moonlight and warm lantern glow. A round window overlooks the sleeping meadow below, where silver light rests softly upon the flowers and winding stream. The room is simple, wonderfully uncluttered. Several finished paintings lean carefully against the old wooden walls. None are large. None are extravagant, yet each one quietly holds a moment of peace. A misty morning beside a quiet lake. Golden sunlight resting upon an empty garden bench. Wildflowers dancing beneath a gentle summer breeze. Fresh rain upon a stone pathway. Moonlight shining through the branches of an ancient oak. Every painting feels less like a picture, and more like a peaceful memory carefully preserved. Near the window rests an old wooden chest. Inside are neatly rolled canvases tied with soft linen ribbon. Beside them lies a worn paint palette. Tiny traces of gentle blues, warm greens, soft creams, and golden amber still remain upon its surface. It looks as though the artist simply finished a quiet evening of painting and stepped away for a peaceful night's rest. You sit beside the round window for a few calm moments. The moonlight reaches gently across the floorboards. The lantern flickers quietly nearby. Nothing asks to be admired. Nothing asks to be explained. The attic simply offers a quiet reminder that the most beautiful creations are often made slowly, with patience, kindness, and a peaceful heart. You smile softly before standing once again, leaving every painting exactly where it belongs. You quietly close the attic door behind you, allowing its gentle masterpieces to continue resting peacefully beneath the stars. Paint palette crescent moon framed picture. The bedroom beneath the skylight. Leaving the peaceful attic behind, you slowly make your way down the wooden staircase. The cottage is wonderfully quiet now. Only the gentle glow of the lanterns remains, casting warm pools of light along the old wooden floor. At the end of the hallway, you notice one final door. Simple, unpainted. Its smooth oak surface carries the quiet beauty of many peaceful years. You turn the brass handle and step inside. A cozy bedroom welcomes you with calm simplicity. The room feels warm, gentle, and perfectly unhurried. A handcrafted wooden bed rests beneath a wide skylight built into the sloping roof. Soft linen sheets, a thick quilt, and fluffy pillows are arranged with quiet care, inviting nothing more than peaceful rest. Beside the bed stands a small wooden table. A single lantern glows softly upon it, its gentle flame moving almost like a calm heartbeat. Next to the lantern rests a tiny ceramic vase holding freshly picked lavender from the garden. Its familiar fragrance fills the room with quiet comfort. You walk slowly toward the skylight. Above you, the night sky stretches endlessly. Countless stars shimmer peacefully beyond the glass, while the full moon bathes the cottage roof in gentle silver light. From somewhere outside comes the soft whisper of leaves moving in the breeze. The little fountain continues its distant melody. A few crickets sing quietly beneath the garden flowers. Every sound feels gentle enough to become part of the night's peaceful lullaby. You sit upon the edge of the bed. The mattress settles softly beneath you. The quilt feels wonderfully warm beneath your fingertips. Nothing feels hurried. Nothing feels unfinished. The entire cottage seems to have been quietly preparing this peaceful room for the close of a beautiful evening. You take one last slow look around. The warm lantern. The lavender beside your bed. The moonlight above. The quiet wooden walls that have sheltered countless peaceful nights before this one. It feels as though every brushstroke, every flower, and every gentle corner of the cottage has quietly guided you here. To a place where the day can gently fade away, and where peaceful dreams are already waiting beneath the stars. Crescent moon bed paint palette. Drifting into gentle dreams. The cottage has grown wonderfully quiet. The little lantern beside your bed glows with an even softer light now, as though it, too, is ready to rest after a peaceful evening. You gently draw the quilt over yourself. It is warm, comfortably heavy. It settles around you like a quiet embrace, bringing with it a feeling of complete ease. Above, the wide skylight frames the peaceful night sky. The stars continue to shimmer patiently, while the moon drifts slowly across the heavens, bathing the room in a delicate silver glow. The soft lavender beside your bed fills the air with its familiar calming fragrance. Outside, the garden breathes quietly beneath the moonlight. The roses rest peacefully. The lavender sways with the gentlest breeze. The little fountain continues its endless melody, flowing softly through the silent night. Every now and then, the old wooden cottage gives the faintest, most comforting creak, reminding you that it has stood here through countless peaceful evenings, offering warmth and shelter to every quiet traveler who found their way home. Your breathing becomes slower, gentler. Each peaceful breath carries away the last little thoughts of the day, leaving behind only calm. The lantern flame flickers quietly. The curtains move ever so slightly with the cool night air. The stars remain above, watching over the sleeping meadow beyond the cottage. There is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing left to finish. Nothing waiting for tomorrow. Only this warm room, this peaceful bed, and the quiet comfort of knowing that the night is gently holding everything exactly as it should be. Your eyelids grow pleasantly heavy. The cottage seems almost to breathe with you. The lantern, the moonlight, the garden, the soft whisper of the breeze. Everything moves together in perfect harmony. As your eyes slowly begin to close, the peaceful little cottage feels less like a place you have visited, and more like a gentle painting that has quietly welcomed you inside. Where every evening ends with stillness, every heart finds rest, and every dream begins with a single peaceful breath. Crescent moon paint palette sparkles, drifting into gentle dreams. The cottage has grown wonderfully quiet. The little lantern beside your bed glows with an even softer light now, as though it, too, is ready to rest after a peaceful evening. You gently draw the quilt over yourself. It is warm, comfortably heavy. It settles around you like a quiet embrace, bringing with it a feeling of complete ease. Above, the wide skylight frames the peaceful night sky. The stars continue to shimmer patiently, while the moon drifts slowly across the heavens, bathing the room in a delicate silver glow. The soft lavender beside your bed fills the air with its familiar calming fragrance. Outside, the garden breathes quietly beneath the moonlight. The roses rest peacefully. The lavender sways with the gentlest breeze. The little fountain continues its endless melody, flowing softly through the silent night. Every now and then, the old wooden cottage gives the faintest, most comforting creak, reminding you that it has stood here through countless peaceful evenings, offering warmth and shelter to every quiet traveler who found their way home. Your breathing becomes slower, gentler. Each peaceful breath carries away the last little thoughts of the day, leaving behind only calm. The lantern flame flickers quietly. The curtains move ever so slightly with the cool night air. The stars remain above, watching over the sleeping meadow beyond the cottage. There is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing left to finish. Nothing waiting for tomorrow. Only this warm room, this peaceful bed, and the quiet comfort of knowing that the night is gently holding everything exactly as it should be. Your eyelids grow pleasantly heavy. The cottage seems almost to breathe with you. The lantern, the moonlight, the garden, the soft whisper of the breeze. Everything moves together in perfect harmony. As your eyes slowly begin to close, the peaceful little cottage feels less like a place you have visited, and more like a gentle painting that has quietly welcomed you inside. Where every evening ends with stillness, every heart finds rest, and every dream begins with a single peaceful breath. crescent moon paint palette sparkles. Until the colors bloom again. The cottage is completely still now. The little lantern beside your bed has grown wonderfully dim. Its warm glow blending gently with the silver moonlight that falls through the skylight above. Outside, the garden sleeps peacefully beneath the stars. The roses rest quietly upon their climbing vines. Lavender sways with the softest breeze. The little fountain continues its gentle song, never hurry, never loud. Beyond the flower beds, the meadow stretches peacefully toward the distant hills, where the moon watches over the quiet landscape with timeless patience. You rest comfortably beneath the warm quilt. Your breathing is slow, easy, peaceful. The entire cottage seems to settle into the calm rhythm of the night. The studio filled with gentle colors. The peaceful garden, the quiet gallery of paintings, the moonlit balcony, the little piano and its fading melody, the library of sketchbooks, the rain upon the glass roof, the quiet attic treasured masterpieces. Every gentle place has become part of one calm journey. Not a journey of great adventures, but a journey of quiet moments. Moments that ask nothing from you except to slow down, to breathe, and simply notice the beauty that has always been there. The cottage seems to whisper one final thought before sleep gently carries you into peaceful dreams. The world is always more beautiful when we look at it with a quiet heart. Perhaps tomorrow will be busy. Perhaps the world beyond these peaceful walls will move a little faster once again. But this little cottage will remain exactly as it is. The lanterns will continue to glow each evening. Fresh flowers bloom in the garden. Blank canvases will patiently wait upon their easels. And the gentle evening breeze will still carry the quiet fragrance of lavender through the open windows. Whenever your heart longs for stillness, you will always know the way back. Until then, may your sleep be deep, your dreams be gentle, and your heart remain as peaceful as this quiet little cottage beneath the stars. Thank you for spending this calm evening in the artist's cottage. Sleep well, and until our next peaceful journey together. Good night. Crescent moon paint palette white heart. End of episode 6. Herb sparkles.